Chapter 51:10. Great Pung King, you dare to humiliate us like this? We won't rest until you're dead. No, no, no. This can't be real. How could this be? How could the 7 of us be defeated so easily? The demon race experts who were suppressed by the great Pung King all roared furiously, their eyes turning blood red. These people were the decision-makers of the first ancestral land of the demonic beasts. They were the true higher-ups. How honorable were their identities! And now they were kneeling in front of so many people. They were actually kneeling on the ground. This was a huge blow to them. Great Pung King, you've gone too far. A cold voice sounded. The great Pung King stepped out of the void. Greetings, great Pung King. When they saw the great Pung King appear, many people bowed. The great Pung King nodded. He looked at the great Pung King with a gloomy gaze. I'm just teaching them a lesson. I want them to know that they shouldn't be so cruel to their fellow clansmen. It's better to be kind. Ha, said the great Pung Emperor. I'm just teaching them a lesson. It's better to be kind. The great Pung King's expression was cold. Are you saying that they're not kind enough? Senior, what do you think? The great Pung King asked. The great Pung King sighed. There are some things that I don't want to get involved in, but today's matter concerns the dignity of the first ancestral land of the demonic beasts, the great Pung King said. So, Senior, you've never treated us as members of the first ancestral land of the demonic beasts, right? The great Pung King's gaze darkened. Don't try to guess what I'm thinking. In my eyes, you're all equal. The great Pung King laughed self-deprecatingly. He said, Is that so? Is that really so? Senior, don't you know that my nephew and the others are being bullied? It's just a quarrel between youngsters. The great Pung King said. What about when Jean Wusher humiliated my nephew? The great Pung King asked. As a senior teaching a junior a lesson, can that be considered humiliating? The great Pung King narrowed his eyes. Hearing this, Lin Feng could not help but roll his eyes. Previously, he had a rather good impression of De Pung, but now this kind of good impression had completely disappeared. In fact, the cause of the whole thing was very simple. Lin Feng, the little rock king, and the others had been bullied and humiliated, but the people who had bullied and humiliated them weren't strong enough. On the contrary, they had been taught a lesson. Because of that, more and more strong cultivators had been involved. Even the leaders of the first ancestral land of the bestial clan had been involved. If Chu Feng had been fair, he would have blamed the people who had caused trouble, not the ones who had been bullied and humiliated. The Rock King said, Then what about the battle between me and Jin Wuzhong? The 7 of them besieged me. Senior, please don't forget that I have only cultivated for a little over 1,000 years. What about them? Which one of them had cultivated for less than 10 million years? So what if they attacked me? Is it like what Senior said, a senior teaching a junior a lesson? The Rock King asked. Hearing the Rock King's words, many people could not help but come back to their senses. Indeed, the Rock King had only cultivated for a little over 1,000 years. What a heaven-defying existence. His age was really too young. No matter how biased the rock demon god was, he could not possibly say that the 7 experts had ganged up on the Rock King to teach him a lesson, could he? It was for the Rock King's own good, right? No matter how shameless a person was, they wouldn't be able to say something like that, right? We will leave today. I hope Senior will not stop us. The Rock King said. The Rock King said. The rock demon god's face darkened slightly. What if I say no? The Rock King asked. Senior, are you going to force us to stay? The Rock King asked. What happened to you all these years? Your cultivation has risen so quickly. Tell me what happened, and you can leave with the people behind you. The rock demon god said. The rock demon god said. The eyes of many cultivators in the ancestral land lit up. If they knew this secret, wouldn't they be able to quickly raise their cultivation as well? When they thought of this, many people could not help but become excited. The Rock King said, "The Lake of Time, the world where time is reversed." The rock demon god's eyes brightened slightly. "You're saying that you entered the world where time is reversed from the Lake of Time?" "Yes." The Rock King nodded. "Bring us into that world as well." The rock demon god said, "I can't do it." The Rock King replied, "Why not?" The rock demon god asked, "Only those who can sense that world can enter it." The Rock King said. The rock demon god said, "Is that so? Are you telling the truth?" The Rock King said, "Every word is true." The rock demon god asked, "Could it be that you have no other clues about that world?" The Rock King shook his head. "No." The rock demon god said, "Empty words have no proof. Let me search your soul, and I'll be able to confirm if you're lying." Hearing this, the great Pung King's expression turned ugly. "Senior, do you not trust me?" Da Peng King asked in a deep voice. Da Peng replied, "It's not that I don't trust you. I just want to confirm it." Lin Feng cursed inwardly. This fellow's request was a little too much. If he wanted him to search the great Rock King's soul memories, he would be able to do so. If this guy had any ill intentions towards the great Pung King at that time, wouldn't the great Rock King end up in a miserable state? One must always be on guard against others. The Rock King replied, "I refuse. I don't want to target you, but if you don't cooperate, I'll have no choice but to use some forceful methods." Da Peng Demon, Celestial Da Peng, clearly wanted to suppress Da Peng King, even though he had fallen from the Saint realm. However, Da Peng Demon God was still in the quasi-sage realm. Such a cultivation was still incomparably terrifying and could not be underestimated. Great Pung King said, "If you really want to fight, I can only accompany you." "Very good. I want to see what level your cultivation has reached." The rock demon god sneered, then walked towards the great Pung King. With every step the great Pung demon god took, his aura increased by a large margin. The rock demon god was gathering his strength. Chapter 5111. Da Peng demon god's power was successfully condensed. His power was very terrifying. When Da Peng demon god's power was condensed, Da Peng demon god's every move seemed to contain the truth of heaven and earth. Da Peng demon god's casual move could cause the energy of heaven and earth to become chaotic. How powerful was his battle prowess? It was simply unimaginable. "Exterminate!" Da Peng demon god said coldly. When his voice fell, he struck out with his palm towards Da Peng King. That palm was surrounded by a terrifying destructive power. That destructive power made people involuntarily give birth to a hair-raising feeling. Strong. It was really too strong. Even though he was only watching the battle, even though he only sensed the power of Da Peng demon god's attack, Lin Feng had the feeling that he was insignificant, just like an ant. It was as if he had seen a giant dragon. The cultivation of the quasi-saint realm was indeed too powerful. The quasi-saint realm was already so powerful. That was a true sage realm cultivation. How powerful was it? In the past, Da Peng Demon God was a true sage realm expert. Cloud Journey 90,000. At this moment, Da Peng King also made his move. He immediately used the cloud layer 90,000. Little Rock King had used this divine ability before. This was a divine ability that made the rock race cultivators of the undying realm jealous. However, the Great Rock King and the Little Rock King both cultivated this ultimate technique. When Little Rock King used this divine ability, he could unleash an extremely heaven-defying power. Not to mention when Da Peng King used it. when Dapeng King used this divine ability. The power unleashed by this divine ability was even more powerful. 36 pairs of energy wings appeared on Dapeng King's back. At that time, Little Rock King only condensed 6 pairs of energy wings. There was a huge gap between them and the 36 pairs of energy wings that Dapeng King condensed. The main reason was that Dapeng King's cultivation was too powerful. His understanding of the cloud journey, 90,000, was also not something that Little Rock King could compare to. Therefore, when the two of them both used the cloud journey 90,000, the power was naturally incomparable. The 36 pairs of wings quickly swept across the void and instantly swept towards Dapeng Demon God. The next moment, the Great Rock King's attack collided with the Great Rock Demon Celestial's attack. It was as if two worlds had collided. At the spot where the two of them collided, the void quickly split open. Fortunately, when the two of them were fighting, they had deliberately held back their strength and did not let a large amount of their strength leak out. If a large amount of power leaked out, when the time comes, it would be an extremely dangerous thing to do. Who knew how badly the ancestral land of the demonic beasts would be destroyed? The Great Pung King was actually not at a disadvantage in the clash with the Great Pung Demon God. Everyone looked as if they had seen a ghost. Previously, the Great Rock King defeated Jin Wuzhong and the others by himself. Although everyone was shocked, it seemed that they could accept it. But the situation before their eyes was very difficult for them to accept. Jin Wuzhong and the others were strong, but the strongest was Jin Wuzhong. He was only a mid-stage golden immortal cultivator, while De Peng was a quasi-sage. A mid-level golden immortal was as weak as an ant in front of a quasi-sage. There was no comparison at all. However, the Great Rock King was able to block the attack of a quasi-sage. The Great Rock King's combat strength was too heaven-defying. Every single one of them. They all had an inconceivable feeling. But all of this was real. The Great Rock King's strength was indeed shocking. Lin Feng couldn't help but think, was that world where time was reversed really so extraordinary? It actually made the Great Rock King so powerful. Lin Feng immediately thought of the Peacock King. All these years, the Peacock King and the Great Rock King had the same fate. So, did that mean that the Peacock King had the same strength as the Great Rock King? If that was the case, then it would be heaven-defying. This was equivalent to having 2 more top-notch experts. At that time, the strength of the Sin realm would greatly increase. I didn't expect you to become so powerful. Did your cultivation increase in the world where time was reversed? The Great Rock Demon God narrowed his eyes and looked at the Great Rock King. Even a big shot like him, now that he saw the Great Rock King block his attack. It was as if a monstrous wave was set off in his heart. Yes, the Great Rock King's answer was very simple. He directly flew towards the Great Rock Demon God and said, "During this period of time, I've cultivated a new sacred art. It just so happens that I want to test the power of this sacred art." Cycle of eras. Suddenly, the Great Rock King let out a long roar, and suddenly countless mysterious worlds appeared behind him. Each mysterious world seemed to represent an epoch. One era after another was born, and then destroyed one after another. Countless eras were replaced. This was the cycle of eras. This was definitely a peerless absolute art. When the Great Rock Demon God saw the Great Rock King use this absolute art, his expression couldn't help but become extremely serious. An attack that could make an expert of his level feel serious. One could imagine how powerful this attack was. The Great Rock Demon God naturally also had an incomparably powerful sacred art. Facing the Great Rock King's attack, The Great Pung Demon. Celestial used a divine ability called Great Pung, controlling Sacred Mountain. The Great Rock Demon god flew out and transformed into a golden-winged rock. On his back, a sacred mountain appeared. That sacred mountain was like Mount Meru in the Western world. Great Rock Sacred Mountain, killing billions of immortals. This was a sacred art that had been passed down from ancient times. It wasn't a sacred art that the Great Rock Demon God had created. In fact, no one knew who had created this sacred art, but it had been passed down in the Great Rock Demon God race. The Great Rock Demon God had broken through to the Saint Realm not long ago. He had once used this sacred art to kill a Saint Realm cultivator who was even stronger than him. Now, he once again used this divine ability. Bang! In the next moment, accompanied by the sound of the world collapsing, the Great Rock Demon God and the Great Rock Demon God clashed once again. With the place where they fought as the center, the void began to shatter. Terrifying space-time energy surged out. The surrounding cultivators hurriedly retreated, afraid that they would be swallowed by the space-time energy. Fortunately, everyone retreated quickly enough. Otherwise, it would have been really dangerous. The shattered void closed once again. The Great Rock Demon God and the Great Rock Demon God stood in the void. Both of them were panting heavily. Obviously, the attack just now had consumed a lot of their bodies, whether it was the Great Rock Demon God or the Great Rock King. The magic power in their bodies had been severely depleted. They're still evenly matched. It's a draw. A cultivator sucked in a breath of cold air and said, "Many people couldn't calm down. The Great Rock King had cultivated for 1,000 years, and he was actually able to contend against the Great Rock Demon God, who was in the quasi-saint realm. In the future, how could this be? To what extent would the Great Rock King grow in the future?" Chapter 51:12. Good. It's true that the new generation excels the old. To be able to cultivate to this level at your age is truly unimaginable. Depung took a deep breath and said, "It's really a fluke." Depung said, "This is your own opportunity, so you don't need to be humble. There were some misunderstandings between us before, but when a family lives together, it's inevitable that there will be friction, not to mention that there are many different races living together. So, I hope you can understand, and there's no need for you to leave the ancestral land. This is your home in the undying realm." Everyone knew Depung King's words. Actually, it was a disguised form of goodwill. There was nothing they could do about it. After all, Depung King was simply too powerful, and he was so young. Just think about it. He was so young and so powerful. If the ancestral land missed out on such a peerless powerhouse, it would definitely be an extremely vexing matter. Everyone knew this. Depung King also knew this. So, Depung King wanted to turn hostility into friendship. Then, he asked Depung King and the others to stay. When one's strength reached a certain level, even these peerless powerhouses would have to speak humbly. To put it bluntly, the world of cultivators. This was a world where the strong were respected. Without strength, nothing at all. Moreover, they were destined to be bullied and humiliated, with nowhere to seek redress. Depung King said, "Thank you for asking us to stay, Senior. We plan to go out and take a look, so we don't plan to stay in the ancestral land any longer. What I said before still stands. If there's anything you can't solve in the ancestral land, you can still come and find me and the Peacock King. If we can help, we definitely won't refuse." Depung King said unwillingly, "I know that some things that happened before made you quite angry. How about this? I'll get Jin Wuzhong and the others to apologize to you. What do you think?" Depung King said, "Thank you for your kindness, Senior, but there are some things that can't be turned back. I hope you can understand." Depung King then looked at Lin Feng and the others and said, "Let's go." Lin Feng and the others nodded, and then they all flew towards the exit. Depeng, demon god's expression was extremely ugly. Letting an expert like Depeng King escape was a great loss to the demon race's ancestral land. Furthermore, the great Peng, Yao Celestial, felt that the Peacock King might not be any weaker than the great Peng King. If that was the case, the loss of the ancestral land of the demonic beasts was greater than expected. However, the great Peng King had made up his mind. There was no turning back. Right now, demon god Dapeng had a belly full of anger that he had no way of venting. However, he could only watch as the great Rock King and the others left. Jin Wuzhong and the others lowered their heads, not daring to say a word. They also knew that today's matter must have infuriated Dapeng Demon God. Right now, he didn't dare to offend the great rock. Dapeng Demon Celestial glanced coldly at Jin Wuzhong and the others. Jin Wuzhong and the others immediately felt as though there was a dagger at their backs. Things had already come to this. Demon Celestial Dapeng could not be bothered with Jin Wuzhong and the others. He returned to the secluded temple. The heaven-devouring python demon god and white peacock demon god were both here. What a pity, what a pity, demon god Dapeng said in annoyance. The heaven-devouring python demon god said, "The only fortunate thing is that the great rock king and the peacock king do not seem to hold a grudge against the ancestral land of the demonic beasts. Their personalities are extremely good." The white peacock demon god nodded and said, "Yes, their personalities are indeed extremely good. But now that they have left the demonic beasts' ancestral land, it seems that some of the bad habits of the demonic beasts' ancestral land really need to be rectified. Otherwise, who knows if there will be a second or third person like the great Rock King who will be angered to the point of leaving the demonic beasts' ancestral land." Demon god Dapeng said, "I think it's better to let the Phoenix Creek Demon Empress take charge of the demonic beasts' ancestral land. Her character and way of doing things are still trustworthy. She's a loose cultivator and doesn't have any factions backing her. I'm afraid that the factions below her will make a big fuss." The heaven-devouring python demon god frowned slightly. Clearly, he did not think that the Phoenix Creek Demon Empress would take charge of the demonic beasts' ancestral land. Demon god Dapeng said, "The Phoenix Creek Demon Empress is not a simple person, so don't underestimate her." The white peacock demon god said, "I also agree to let the Phoenix Creek Demon Empress take charge of the demonic beasts' ancestral land. However, the Phoenix Creek Demon Empress is usually in seclusion and does not care about what happens outside. I wonder if she will agree?" "She will." Demon god Dapeng narrowed his eyes and said, "The Phoenix Creek Demon Empress will definitely want to break through her shackles in the future and take another step forward to become a Saint Realm cultivator. If she takes charge of the demonic beasts' ancestral land, her own fate will be linked to the fate of the demonic beasts' ancestral land. This is an opportunity for her to break through to the Saint Realm. I'm sure the Phoenix Creek Demon Empress understands this as well. Therefore, she will not refuse to take charge of the demonic beasts' ancestral land." Lin Feng and the others naturally did not know what the three demon gods were talking about. Originally, Lin Feng and the others had wanted to pay a visit to the Phoenix Creek Demon Empress. However, after what had happened today, they decided that if they had the chance in the future, they would go visit the Phoenix Creek Demon Empress again. Right now, the most important thing was to leave the demonic beasts' ancestral land as soon as possible. This was because there were three demon gods in the demonic beasts' ancestral land. Who knew if the three demon gods would suddenly go crazy and attack Lin Feng and the others? If that was the case, it would be terrible. Hua Lingxian naturally understood this very well. She did not mention the matter of visiting her master, the Phoenix Creek Demon Empress. Hua Lingxian sent Lin Feng and the others to the exit. If there's a chance, Fairy can come to the Sin Domain. When the time comes, we will definitely treat Fairy well. Lin Feng said with a smile, Okay, when there's time, I will definitely visit you. Hua Lingxian said with a smile. She was born beautiful and moving. When she smiled, she was even more charming. There was a kind of immortal aura on her body that looked incomparably pure and otherworldly. After parting with Hua Lingxian, Lin Feng, and the others left the demonic beast's first ancestral land. Other than Lin Feng, the rest of the people were somewhat emotional. After all, they had lived here for 150 years and were extremely familiar with everything here. Now, but they had no choice but to leave this place. Naturally, they would feel a lot of emotions. Lin Feng and the others did not stop. They headed straight for the Sin Domain. On the way, Lin Feng received something that shocked him greatly from the Great Rock King. The Great Rock King told Lin Feng that he and the Peacock King had seen the savages from afar in the world where time had reversed. Although they did not know that the savages were Lin Feng's protectors, they knew that Lin Feng had an extraordinary relationship with the savages. Chapter 51:13. Back then, the savage had told Lin Feng, when Lin Feng cultivated to the Emperor Master realm, he would give him the things that ancestor Lin Qi had left with him back then. Lin Feng had always wanted to know what ancestor Lin Qi had left behind. Now Lin Feng had already come to the Undying realm, and Lin Feng had already cultivated to the worldly immortal realm. But even so, Lin Feng still hadn't been able to see the savage. In fact, Lin Feng had always been a little worried that something had happened to the savage. Now that he had news of the savage, he could finally relax. Lin Feng didn't mind getting the ancestors things a little later. Senior Savage was fine. That was the best news. What is Senior Savage doing inside? Lin Feng asked curiously. The Great Rock King said, I'm not sure. We haven't been able to talk to him. Lin Feng nodded. He didn't know where Senior Savage had entered that world. Lin Feng was really curious. It seemed that he wanted to reunite with Senior Savage. Either he patiently waited for Senior Savage to come out of the world where time had reversed, or he waited for an opportunity to enter the world where time had reversed. Then he would look for an opportunity to meet Senior Savage. Lin Feng knew the matter of meeting the savage in front of him couldn't be rushed. He needed to be patient and wait for the time to come. On the way back to the Sin Realm, Lin Feng and the others met the first Devil Pagoda. The first Devil Pagoda seemed to be in a hurry as it quickly streaked across the void and flew into the distance. Not long after, Lin Feng saw Li Dian's claws again. Li Dian's claws were chasing after the first Devil Pagoda. This time, there was a good show to watch. He didn't know what the outcome would be. Half a year later, Lin Feng and the others returned to the Sin City. As the central city of the Sin Realm, the Sin City was now incomparably lively. The experts of the sinner's blood came out one after another and came to the Sin City one after another. Now, Lin Feng had left many things to his grandmaster, Wang Mingchuan, to handle. Under Wang Mingchuan's management, everything in Sin City was in good order. Lin Feng introduced his ancestor, Wang Mingchuan, to the Great Rock King and the others. After the two sides got to know each other, Lin Feng brought everyone to rest in the courtyard. Then, someone came to report the situation in Sin City to Lin Feng. During this time, several cultivators in the Sin capital had recovered their strength to the true immortal realm. Those cultivators were the ones Lin Feng had saved from the palace of White Bones. Back then, they were all immortals. However, after being imprisoned for so many years, his body had been severely damaged. Therefore, their cultivation levels had dropped, but after Lin Feng had saved them, they had become much stronger. Lin Feng was providing them with all kinds of cultivation resources. Lin Feng was also providing them with all kinds of cultivation resources. With the support of those cultivation resources, the cultivator's cultivation base improved by leaps and bounds. In fact, he had even recovered to the true immortal state. This was truly something worth celebrating. These cultivators were different from ordinary cultivators. It was extremely difficult for ordinary cultivators to break through to the true immortal realm. But these cultivators were not like that. It was easy for them to break through to the true immortal realm. The reason was that they had already broken through to that realm. For them, there was no barrier to breaking through to the true immortal realm. That was why it was easy for them to break through to the true immortal realm. Lin Feng asked around. There were as many as 9 true immortal cultivators in the Sin realm. Although he didn't like the number, 9, Lin Feng was still very happy to know that there were so many true immortals in the Sin realm. Of course, this didn't include Lin Feng's grandmaster, Wang Mingchuan. Lin Feng was also not included. In addition, Lin Feng also had 2 true immortal evil god stone statues. If they were included, there should be 13 true immortal experts in the Sin realm. Now, the Great Rock King and the others had followed Lin Feng to the Sin realm. The Great Rock King and the Peacock King's cultivation were naturally strong. They could even fight against a quasi-sage. In addition, although the Little Rock King and the Fire Qilin were still a distance away from the true immortal realm, their innate talents were strong, so they could fight against some early-stage true immortals. As for Feng Yaorao, Little Moon's cultivation was still a distance away from the Fire Qilin and the Little Rock King. As for Princess Shui Yao, actually, the one Lin Feng couldn't see through the most was Princess Shui Yao. Back then, Lin Feng was still a young man and had yet to grow up. Princess Shui Yao was already the princess respected by the demon race. Moreover, Princess Shui Yao had also obtained the Demon Emperor sacred embryo. As a result, Princess Shui Yao's cultivation was definitely extremely tyrannical, but Princess Shui Yao had never made a move, so it was hard to determine what level her cultivation was at. Lin Feng felt that she might be even stronger than the Little Rock King. Now, the peak battle strength of the Sin realm was extremely powerful, even if the experts of many large factions appeared one after another. But there was definitely no faction that dared to say that they could suppress the Sin realm. The Sin realm's development was extremely good, so Lin Feng was naturally very happy. After Lin Feng dismissed his subordinates, he went back to rest. After spending an unforgettable night with Feng Yaorao, Lin Feng still had many things to take care of. First, he still hadn't figured out what the 3 items he had obtained from the stone tower were. Second, Lin Feng's meridian diagram had already opened the first gate of the 4 extremes. Now he could explore his own meridian diagram and tap into his body's potential. Third, Lin Feng needed to consolidate his cultivation level, his celestial scriptures, and his godly skills. Fourth, Lin Feng still needed to continue familiarizing himself with the Arrow War Spear. Right now, he was still unable to use the Arrow War Spear with ease. The main reason was because he wasn't familiar with it. In addition, Lin Feng wanted to try and see if he could obtain the Arrow War Spear's matching spear technique. In order to unleash the strongest power of the Arrow War Spear, he had to obtain the matching spear technique. Fifth, there was still no news of the 3 treasures that could cure Lung Zixi's poison. Naturally, Lin Feng was extremely worried. Therefore, Lin Feng needed to continue sending people to scout for information. He couldn't just place his hopes on the Baishao Pavilion or some large trading companies. Sixth, he wondered how the Empress was doing now. Lin Feng planned to send people to scout for news of the Empress. Lin Feng hadn't seen the peerless Empress for a few years. He really missed the Empress a lot. Besides, Lin Feng still wanted to scout for news of some people. Of course, there were also some things that Lin Feng planned to find time to complete. For example, finding the Emperor Brush, the Sage Master's Holy Scripture, and so on. Chapter 51:14. Lin Feng checked the 3 balls of light. Immediately, he realized that the energy of the 3 balls of light had been restrained by a lot. Seeing this, Lin Feng revealed a look of joy. It seemed that the situation was not bad. Soon, the energy would be completely restrained. At that time, he would know what the 3 items were. They were treasures left behind by the evil ancestor. They were definitely extraordinary. When Lin Feng was about to go into closed-door cultivation, a servant girl came to report that someone had come to visit Lin Feng. The other party said that she was called Shui Yu Xian. This made Lin Feng a little surprised, because he never thought that Shui Yu Xian would actually come to the Sin domain. In reality, Lin Feng and Shui Yu Xian's relationship had gradually drifted apart. But since Shui Yu Xian came to find him, there might be something, right? Lin Feng planned to meet Shui Yu Xian, so he got someone to bring Shui Yu Xian to the guest hall. Lin Feng waited for a moment, then walked towards the guest hall. Lin Feng saw the beauty standing in the guest hall. As a fox spirit, Shui Yu Xian's entire body naturally emitted a charming aura that made people's hearts palpitate. She was extremely charming. It was talking about a woman like Shui Yu Xian. However, Lin Feng was used to seeing all kinds of beauties, so when he saw Shui Yu Xian, he was able to look at her like an ordinary person. At that moment, Lin Feng's immunity to beautiful women was quite high. Seeing that Lin Feng had arrived, Shui Yu Xian revealed an extremely excited expression. She bowed to Lin Feng. "Fairy, you don't have to be so polite. Quickly get up." Lin Feng said. Shui Yu Xian stood up. Then she looked at Lin Feng faintly. She said, "Young master used to call me Yu Xian. Now, has young master become so distant from me?" As Shui Yu Xian spoke, she looked as if she was about to cry. Seeing Shui Yu Xian's sad look, Lin Feng could not help but laugh bitterly. If someone who didn't know Shui Yu Xian, they would think that he had done something outrageous to Shui Yu Xian. But in reality, there was nothing between him and Shui Yu Xian. Although Lin Feng had once been slightly moved by Shui Yu Xian. Although, in the past, the two of them had some ambiguous relationship. But that was all in the past. Lin Feng replied, "It's not that I'm estranged from you, but calling you Yu Xian is a bit too intimate. I don't mind, but I'm worried that it'll damage your reputation." Shui Yu Xian sighed and said, "Sir, you're just trying to comfort me. I know, back then, I said some things that made you unhappy. I haven't been able to see you for a long time, and I've been missing you a lot. I realized how wrong I was back then, so I gave up everything in Western Sky City and came to the Sin region. I want to explain everything to you, and I hope you'll like me again. I'm willing to serve you forever. As long as you don't let me leave, I'm willing to be your servant," said Lin Feng. After hearing Shui Yu Xian's words, Lin Feng was surprised, because he never thought that Shui Yu Xian would say such bold words. This was not far. She sent herself over to be his concubine. Lin Feng was in a difficult position. Now, if Lin Feng wanted to find a woman, he would not only look at her beauty. He also needed a feeling. To put it in simple terms, it was the feeling of being moved. Once, Lin Feng had that feeling towards Shui Yu Xian, but now he no longer had that feeling. Thus, facing Shui Yuexin's sudden confession. Lin Feng did not immediately agree. Does young master not like Yuexin anymore? Shui Yuexin immediately started crying. Her tear-stained face was truly pitiful. It had to be said. A woman's beauty was her greatest advantage. Shui Yuexin was too beautiful, and seeing her cry so sadly, even Lin Feng's heart ached. If such a beautiful woman was done by another man, this was truly a rather vexing matter. Why not keep her in his harem? Lin Feng thought about whether he would be able to have a harem of 3,000 beauties. One day, he kept Shui Yuexin. It was also a good choice. Lin Feng said, Yuexin, you can stay here in the future and cultivate well in Sin City. Hearing Lin Feng say this, Shui Yuexin immediately became happy. Then she threw herself into his arms. Lin Feng asked someone to help arrange a place for Shui Yuexin to rest. Then, Lin Feng returned to his residence to cultivate in seclusion. Lin Feng entered the time-space. He spent 3 years to sort out the various sacred arts. At the same time, he continued to study the various immortal scriptures and some top sacred arts. Lin Feng's gains from this cultivation were huge. Because his realm was becoming more and more stable, Lin Feng felt that he was not far from breaking through. Lin Feng wanted to break through to the earth immortal realm quickly. With his cultivation, once he broke through to the earth immortal realm, his battle strength would definitely increase greatly. Lin Feng used his spiritual will to explore the 3 balls of light. He was pleasantly surprised to find that the energy of the 3 balls of light had completely disappeared. The 3 things inside, they also appeared in Lin Feng's vision. The first thing, it was a skull bracelet. That skull bracelet was made up of 18 skulls strung together. Lin Feng did not know what race those skulls belonged to. Each skull was very small, about the size of a thumb. Lin Feng studied it and found that those skulls were not originally this size. He guessed that those skulls were bigger. The reason why they were so big now was because those skulls had been refined by someone. That was why they were small now. That skull bracelet should be a powerful magic treasure. Lin Feng tried to refine the skull bracelet, but did not succeed. This made him very surprised. There were very few magic treasures that could not be refined, but this skull bracelet could not be refined. It should be an extraordinary treasure. Lin Feng looked at the second thing. The second thing was a map, a very simple map. Lin Feng opened the map and found that it was empty. There was nothing. It was an extremely strange map. Where are the words and pictures on it? Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter, could it be hidden? Where does the map lead to? Why did someone go to so much trouble to create a map like this? After muttering to himself, Lin Feng looked at the third thing. Chapter 51:15. Martial Talisman. Lin Feng was very surprised. It was a purple martial talisman. Lin Feng didn't know what kind of martial talisman it was. Martial talismans were very important to human cultivators because they could help human cultivators complete the evolution and transformation of their martial spirits. For example, Lin Feng was now to be able to condense 6 devouring martial spirits. 6 devouring martial spirits meant that Lin Feng could use 6 times the battle strength of the dragon elephant arm. At the same time, the devouring black hole, formed by the 6 devouring martial spirits, also played a crucial role in the execution of some of the sovereign emperor clan's inheritances. Previously, Lin Feng had obtained 2 Xian Dao martial talismans. In fact, these martial talismans were imprinted with some ancient starry sky maps. When they reached a certain range, they could sense each other. However, if they were too far away, they wouldn't be able to sense each other. 3 Xian Dao martial talismans. With one more, Lin Feng would have collected all of them. Lin Feng had already obtained the map of the third Xian Dao martial talisman. It was just that he didn't have the time to find the third Xian Dao martial talisman. Previously, Lin Feng had studied the whereabouts of the third Xian Dao martial talisman. The place indicated on the map was a certain place in the Undying Realm. However, it was hard to say where exactly in the Undying Realm. The markings on the map weren't particularly obvious, but sooner or later he would find some clues. Lin Feng had no doubts about that. Now, obtaining a new martial talisman made Lin Feng very happy. When he found all the Xian Dao martial talismans, he would see if he could evolve the 6 devouring martial spirits into 7. If it could evolve, it would be a great thing. After the evolution was successful, he would start to collect the other martial talismans. After collecting all of them, he would be able to evolve his martial spirits. Of course, dreams were beautiful, but it was hard to say if it could be realized in reality. Lin Feng naturally had to work hard to make his dream a reality. His divine sense invaded the new martial talisman. Brilliant purple martial talisman. After sensing it, Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself. This martial talisman was called Brilliant Purple Martial Talisman, and it was one of the higher-ranked ones. Lin Feng put the talisman away. Then, Lin Feng studied the mysterious map for a while. However, he still couldn't figure out anything about it. Therefore, Lin Feng put away the map. He would study it when he had time in the future. In the end, Lin Feng's gaze landed on the skeleton bracelet. The skeletal bracelet should have been refined by a devil Dao cultivator or an evil Dao cultivator. Righteous Dao cultivators rarely refine such magic treasures. Previously, Lin Feng had tried to refine the skull bracelet, but he had failed. Lin Feng decided to continue refining the skull bracelet. He didn't believe it. Unable to refine the skeleton bracelet, a powerful magical power enveloped the skeletal bracelet. That magical power, he tried to invade the skeleton bracelet. In the beginning, the skull bracelet had blocked all the magic power from entering his body. However, as time passed, some magic power began to flow into the skeletal bracelet. 2 hours later, the defensive properties of the skull bracelet began to weaken significantly. More and more magic power surged into the skull bracelet. In the end, the skull bracelet was successfully refined by Lin Feng. Lin Feng's divine sense moved, and the skull bracelet quickly grew bigger. Screech! The 18 skulls let out a shrill cry at the same time. When he heard the cry of the 18 skulls, Lin Feng felt like his head was about to split open. His expression suddenly changed. Lin Feng quickly withdrew all the magic power. Only then did the skull bracelet shrink. Then it fell back into Lin Feng's hands. Lin Feng couldn't help but take a deep breath. His face was still very pale. Fortunately, this magic treasure was his, so it wouldn't hurt him as much as it would others. If there were other people in this place, Lin Feng was suspicious. Would the other party's soul be instantly destroyed? It can even affect me, the owner. What a terrifying treasure. Lin Feng looked at the skull bracelet in his hand and couldn't help but mutter to himself. The skull bracelet, this kind of soul attack magic treasure, was still relatively rare. Especially powerful soul attack magic treasures. It was even rarer. At the critical moment, the skull bracelet could definitely play an extremely important role. Just think about it. Just when the two of them were locked in a battle, Lin Feng suddenly took out the skull bracelet. Then, the skull bracelet let out a sharp, ear-piercing sound. When the sound of the skull bracelet came out, it directly caught the other party off guard. The other party might not be able to resist the soul attack of the skull bracelet and be seriously injured. At that time, the battle might be decided in an instant. After thinking about it, Lin Feng's mouth couldn't help but reveal a smile. After putting away the skull bracelet, Lin Feng began to explore his meridian network. His divine sense entered the gate of the four extremes. When Lin Feng's divine sense entered, suddenly, Lin Feng found that he was in a starry sky world. This starry sky world, vast and boundless, those stars were shrouded in endless mystery. There seemed to be a special connection between many stars. Is this the human meridian network map? Lin Feng's face couldn't help but reveal a shocked expression. The human meridian network map was very special. It would construct the human body into a starry sky world. Before, Lin Feng didn't know much about the human meridian network map. Now that he began to explore the human meridian network map, he discovered the wonders of the human meridian network map. This was a deep level of cultivation. It was a deep level of development of the body. If the development was successful, it would naturally give Lin Feng endless benefits. Lin Feng flew to the first star, but he found that there was an invisible force preventing Lin Feng from getting closer. He tried again and again, but it ended in failure. Lin Feng couldn't help but feel a little depressed. Was the human meridian network map so difficult to explore? This time, he explored the human meridian network map. Lin Feng ended in failure, but it wasn't without gains. For example, Lin Feng had a deeper understanding of the human meridian network map. Another example, Lin Feng already had some experience, summing up experience in failure. Sooner or later, he would succeed. Failure is the mother of success. This sentence, it inspired countless cultivators. Lin Feng naturally heard of this sentence. After Lin Feng came out of seclusion, the great elder in charge of the mission hall, Yu Qingmin, came to visit Lin Feng. Yu Qingmin was of the sinner's bloodline, and he was a sinner's blood cultivator of the human race, with a cultivation of the sky, immortal realm, and a wide network. Furthermore, he was a smooth and slick person, managing the mission hall in an orderly manner. Previously, Lin Feng had asked Yu Qingmin to help him find information about the three heavenly treasures, snow dragon grass, crescent moon grass, and pure clean water. He didn't know if Yu Qingmin had found any information. Lin Feng summoned Yu Qingmin in the living room. After seeing Lin Feng, Yu Qingmin revealed a respectful expression. Although Lin Feng was young, his cultivation was unfathomable. As subordinates, they were naturally in awe of Lin Feng. Elder Yu, have you found any information about the snow dragon grass, crescent moon grass, and pure clean water? Lin Feng could not help but ask. Yu Qingmin said, "Young master, I have not found any information about the snow dragon grass and crescent moon grass, but I have some information about the pure clean water." When Lin Feng heard that, he was overjoyed. Those three treasures were extremely rare. Being able to find one of them was already extremely difficult. Everything was difficult at the beginning. Lin Feng believed it. Chapter 51:16. Lin Feng asked, "Where's the pure clean water?" Yu Qingmin replied, "It's in the Tian family of the Tianshui region. I heard that the Tian family of the Tianshui region is planning to auction off their pure clean water. This might be a good opportunity." "Oh, there's such a thing?" Lin Feng couldn't help but be surprised. Yu Qingmin said, "Yes, the Tian family of the Tianshui region is one of the 5 major powers of the Tianshui region. They control 87 ancient cities, and no one knows where their ancestral land is. However, some of their clansmen live in Tianshui City. Every 10,000 years, the Tian family of the Tianshui region will hold a grand auction. During the auction, many good things will be put up for auction. In order to attract a large number of cultivators, the Tian family of the Tianshui region will take out some top-notch natural treasures to advertise. This time, The pure clean water is one of the treasures that the Tian family of the Tianshui region is promoting. Young master, you can participate in the auction and bid for the pure clean water. If you can befriend the Tian family of the Tianshui region, that would be even better, because the Tian family of the Tianshui region is a special power. Snow dragon grass and crescent moon grass are things that the Tian family of the Tianshui region might be able to take out. Even if the Tian family of the Tianshui region can't take them out, they might have some special channels to find them. After hearing Yu Chengmin's words, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. If that was the case, it seemed that the Tianshui region was imperative. Lin Feng asked Yu Chengmin to leave. He planned to arrange things in Sin City before heading to the Tianshui region. Finding the 3 natural treasures was an urgent matter, and Lin Feng didn't want to waste time. Lin Feng ordered people to summon the higher-ups of the Sin realm and gave them some instructions. Lin Feng then set off for the Tianshui region. The Great Peng King, the Peacock King, the Fire Qilin, the Little Peng King, Feng Yarao, and the others were all in seclusion. Du Zhu, the evil sovereign holy sage, and the others were also in seclusion. Lin Feng didn't see them when he returned this time. Therefore, Lin Feng decided to go to the Tianshui region alone. He had just left the city of Sin. Shui Yuexin chased after him. "Why did you come out?" Lin Feng looked at Shui Yuexin and asked, "The journey to the Tianshui region is long. How can there be no one by your side to take care of you? I want to stay by your side and take good care of you," Shui Yuexin said sweetly. Hearing her voice made one's bones go soft. Lin Feng replied, "There's no need for that. You can stay in Sin City and cultivate." "No, take me with you. I'll serve you well on the way. I'll definitely let you live a carefree life. That way, you won't feel lonely on the way," Shui Yuexin said ambiguously. Lin Feng was a little moved by Shui Yuexin's words. If he brought this big beauty with him to the Tianshui domain, then he would be able to take her with him. There were many things that could be done. Indeed, she wouldn't be lonely on the road. However, Lin Feng thought about it. He still rejected Shui Yuexin's tempting suggestion. This trip to the Tianshui region was to find treasures that could save people. It was not for enjoyment. On the way, he could cultivate in seclusion. Bringing along such a delicate beauty like Shui Yuexin would tease him from time to time. How could he still have the mood to cultivate? Lin Feng said, "I've made up my mind. So you should go back." Seeing Lin Feng's insistence, Shui Yuexin could only nod her head. She said, "Then Yuexin will wait for your return in Sin City. When you return, Yuexin will go to your residence to serve you." After hearing Shui Yuexin's words, Lin Feng's heart couldn't help but tremble slightly. If the fox spirit really went to seduce people, it was simply enough to take a person's life. "All right, wait for me to return," Lin Feng said with a smile. Then he left. Shui Yuexin narrowed her eyes as she looked at Lin Feng, who was gradually disappearing into the distance. The corner of her mouth could not help but curl up into a sneer. And Lin Feng, he was destined to be unable to see Shui Yuexin's cold smile. The Tianshui region was relatively far away from the Sin domain, separated by the distance of 3 regions. Lin Feng planned to take the teleportation array to the Tianshui region. There was no teleportation array to the Tianshui region in the Sin domain, but there was one in the Weak Water region. So Lin Feng first came to the Weak Water region in the southwest region of the Sin domain. He planned to take the teleportation array to the Tianshui region in the Weak Water ancient city. If he took the teleportation array, he could save more than a year's time. It was a pretty good choice. However, the price of this long-distance teleportation was extremely high. It required 10,000 immortal stones each time, which was not something that anyone could afford. Of course, for Lin Feng, these immortal stones were naturally nothing. The reason why the cost of taking the teleportation array in the Undying Realm was so high was because it was extremely difficult to construct a teleportation array in the Undying Realm. After all, the Undying Realm's space laws were not comparable to the mortal world. The stronger the space laws were, the more difficult it was to construct a teleportation array. For example, the Undying Realm was like this. So, among the 72 regions of the Undying Realm, many of them only had teleportation arrays within the region and no teleportation arrays outside the region. And even if there was a teleportation array outside the region, basically, there was only one large-scale teleportation array. It was very rare for a region to have 2 or 3 teleportation arrays. There was only one teleportation array in the weak water region. The Spirit Array Master adjusted the coordinates on the teleportation array and teleported the cultivators into one space-time tunnel after another. Since there was only one teleportation array, the cultivators would go to different places. Therefore, to take the teleportation array, one would often have to wait in line for a long time. Lin Feng was rather lucky. On the second day of his arrival, the teleportation array to the Tianshui region opened. After Lin Feng paid the immortal stones, he entered the teleportation array with thousands of cultivators. When the teleportation array was activated, Lin Feng and the others were teleported into the space-time tunnel. After arriving at the space-time tunnel, one could see many people appearing out of thin air and entering the space-time tunnel. Those cultivators were basically teleported in from other regions and were also heading to the Tianshui region. Some people flew in the space-time tunnel, while others took out some flying-type magic treasures. Generally speaking, taking out flying-type magic treasures could save a cultivator's magic power and save a lot of time. Lin Feng took out the Xianyuan Ancient Star City. The Xianyuan Ancient Star City could jump through the void, so its speed was extremely fast. Chapter 51:17. Along the way, some cultivators wanted to rest on Lin Feng's Xianyuan Ancient Starry Sky ship. Lin Feng did not refuse. He removed the restrictions and let the cultivators board the ship to rest. The cultivators were quite tactful. After boarding the ship, they rested on the deck. However, they did not enter the cabin. Most of the time, Lin Feng cultivated in seclusion in the Xianyuan Ancient Starry Sky ship. Sometimes, he would walk out of the Ancient Starry Sky ship and talk to the cultivators resting on the deck. A few good-looking female cultivators felt that Lin Feng was not an ordinary person. Therefore, they came forward to get close to him. Moreover, they said some words to seduce Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng pretended not to hear them. On this day, Lin Feng walked out of the cabin and heard a group of cultivators discussing a divine diviner. This piqued Lin Feng's interest. Lin Feng asked a few people and found out that a divine diviner had appeared in the Starry Sky ship channel. It was said that this divine diviner was an extremely beautiful woman. This woman's methods were very powerful. She claimed to be from the Nine Heavens Sacred Tao Hall. The current leader of the Nine Heavens Sacred Tao Hall was her master. This woman claimed that there was nothing she could not calculate. Therefore, many people came to her for divination. Lin Feng asked what kind of power the Nine Heavens Sacred Tao Hall was. It sounded like a Taoist power. However, Lin Feng did not know whether it was Lin Feng or not. However, these cultivators did not know what kind of power the Nine Heavens Sacred Tao Hall was. They had never heard of it before. Is it really accurate? Lin Feng could not help but ask curiously. In fact, Lin Feng had studied the Xiantian 8 trigrams before. The Xiantian 8 trigrams could deduce many things. However, Lin Feng was not particularly proficient in it. If he was proficient, he might be able to deduce the location of the snow dragon grass and crescent moon grass. Previously, Lin Feng had asked great immortal Sage Martin to help him deduce the location of the snow dragon grass, crescent moon grass, and spotless clean aqua. However, this guy said that he could not deduce the whereabouts of the heaven and earth treasure. This made Lin Feng feel rather helpless. Furthermore, the great Sage Martin had been reminding him that Lin Feng still owed him something. Of course, Lin Feng had not forgotten that when he had asked great immortal Sacred Martin to help him divine the location of the Little Rock King, great immortal Sacred Martin had asked for something like the profound yellow origin stone. Lin Feng was temporarily unable to take it out, but he had promised to help him find it in the future. Great immortal Sacred Martin had never forgotten this matter and had constantly reminded Lin Feng. If he could find it, Lin Feng would have already given it to this guy. That way, he wouldn't have to continue listening to this guy's chatter. His divination technique was unable to divine the whereabouts of the snow dragon grass and the crescent moon grass. Even the great immortal divine Martin could not help him. Perhaps he could ask the oracle for help. However, there were too many swindlers these days. Many people were swindlers. Lin Feng didn't know if the divine mathematician was really capable or if he was just a big swindler who specialized in deceiving people. At this moment, a cultivator said, "His divination is quite accurate." Someone asked him to divine some things, but before the other party could say anything, the divine mathematician even said the other party's name, age, which faction he came from, and what he wanted to divine. Damn, he's so powerful. Could it be a scam? Lin Feng could not help but ask, because it did sound like a scam. It's not a scam. It's because a cultivator I know tried it before, and the divine mathematician actually managed to divine everything. The cultivator continued. Lin Feng could not help but rub his chin. Could it be that he had really met a powerful person with a special ability? The methods of Taoism were indeed extremely extraordinary. If one could cultivate some of the methods of Taoism to a relatively high level, they would be able to grasp many unimaginable abilities. Therefore, that divine mathematician, it was very likely that he had the ability to reach the heavens. "Sir, did you not find the divine mathematician to test him?" Lin Feng asked. "I wanted to give it a try, but the divine mathematician had her own rules. She said that she would divine at most 3 people a day, so I did not get a chance. Later, when I tried to find her again, she was nowhere to be found." The cultivator said, "That's really a pity." Lin Feng said, the ancient spaceship Xianyuan continued to fly through the space-time tunnel. Lin Feng was still wondering if he would be able to meet the divine mathematician. However, things did not go as he wished. Along the way, he did not see the divine mathematician. Half a month later, Lin Feng flew out of the space-time tunnel. The place they appeared in was called Sky Snow City. This place was relatively cold and covered in snow all year round. Many cultivators came out of the teleportation array, one after another. Lin Feng planned to find a place to stay first. After calculating the time, he realized that there was still some time before the auction. Many beautiful women gathered outside the teleportation square to solicit customers. Most of them were sent by the inns to solicit customers. The competition between the inns in these ancient cities was extremely high. A young man in his 20s came to Lin Feng's side. Lin Feng suddenly thought of the time when he was in his 20s. He really missed that time. "Big brother, do you need a place to stay? Our place is different from ordinary inns. Our environment is very elegant and quiet. Moreover, there are no female cultivators who keep trying to sell themselves. It's definitely an excellent place to rest. I would not casually strike up a conversation with ordinary people. However, I can tell that Big Brother is a noble person and would definitely not want to be disturbed by those ordinary inns. That's why I came to invite Big Brother to stay at our place, the young cultivator said. Actually, Lin Feng did not like to rest in inns because there would always be female cultivators knocking on the door. Lin Feng was not interested in those female cultivators. Of course, he would not rashly criticize those female cultivators. Everyone had their own way of life. Those female cultivators chose to sell their bodies in exchange for immortal stones. Although it was rather shameful, it was their own choice. It was because of this market that their profession had appeared. Lin Feng asked, "Is the environment very good? You really won't be disturbed?" The young cultivator said, "Of course. I guarantee that Big Brother will be satisfied." "Take me to have a look," Lin Feng said. "Big Brother, please come with me." The young cultivator immediately revealed a smile. Lin Feng followed him. On the way, he chatted with the young cultivator and found out that the young cultivator was called Wu Kuan. He was 26 years old this year. He had already broken through to the Godfire realm. Chapter 5118. Lin Feng followed Wu Kuan to the residence that Wu Kuan had mentioned. It was a rather large courtyard, although it looked a little dilapidated. However, it was very clean. The environment inside was just as Wu Kuan had said, quiet and secluded. It was a very good place to rest, and there was no need to worry about being disturbed. Lin Feng followed Wu Kuan inside, but he didn't see anyone for a long time. Lin Feng couldn't help but feel apprehensive. Wasn't this place a little too quiet? Could it be that I'm the only guest here? Lin Feng couldn't help but ask. "Of course not. There are still 4 people living here." Wu Kuan said. 4 people. Lin Feng nodded and didn't ask any more questions. After passing through the front courtyard, they arrived at a courtyard at the back. Every so often, there would be a separate courtyard. Wu Kuan said, "Most of the courtyards in this courtyard are empty. Big Brother, you can choose one." "I'll take that one." Lin Feng pointed at one of the courtyards in front of them. The words Pavilion of Tongue Immortals were written on it. This name was rather imposing. "All right." Wu Kuan nodded and brought Lin Feng to the Pavilion of Tongue Immortals. He opened the courtyard door. Lin Feng looked around and found that it was very clean. Lin Feng was very satisfied with the environment here. "How much do you charge?" Lin Feng asked. 100 immortal stones a day. Wu Kuan said. "I'll be staying for about 3 days." Lin Feng said. "The deposit is 100 immortal stones. If you stay for 3 days, it'll be 400 immortal stones in total. I'll return the deposit to you when I leave." Wu Kuan said. Lin Feng nodded and took out 400 immortal stones, giving them to Wu Kuan. He didn't care about the deposit. It didn't matter if he took it or not. Wu Kuan happily accepted the 400 immortal stones. Then he said, "Big Brother, you should rest. I won't disturb you." "Okay." Lin Feng nodded. Before leaving, Wu Kuan said, "However, I have to remind you of something." "What is it?" Lin Feng asked. "After midnight, we have a curfew here, so don't go out after midnight." Wu Kuan reminded. "No problem," Lin Feng replied. Only then did Wu Kuan leave. Lin Feng closed the courtyard door and returned to his room to rest. Boom, boom, boom. In the evening, Lin Feng heard a loud noise, and then the whole house shook violently. Lin Feng was shocked. He thought there was an earthquake. Lin Feng quickly got up. Then he went outside. He looked towards a courtyard a few hundred meters to his left and saw smoke and dust billowing there. He had no idea what had happened. Lin Feng walked over. He found that the gate to the courtyard had been blown open. A white-haired old man was lying on the ground, panting heavily. "Uncle, are you all right?" Lin Feng walked in and looked at the old man. There's no reason for it to fail. There's no reason for it to fail. The old man ignored Lin Feng and kept murmuring to himself. At that moment, more people were attracted by the sound of the explosion. Apart from Wu Kuan, there was also an old man smoking a pipe. One of them was a little girl who looked about 7 or 8 years old. The other was a delicate-looking young lady. And the last one was an old witch in a black robe who was floating in the air. The old man frowned and said, "Old bastard, didn't I tell you to set up a defensive barrier before the experiment? My courtyard is about to be destroyed by you. Old bastard. Even if you sell yourself, you won't be able to pay for it." After hearing the old man's words, Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. It seemed that the old man should be the owner of this place. Lin Feng had heard Wu Kuan mention that there was only him and his master here. The others were all guests. The old man was obviously Wu Kuan's master. Cough, cough, Lao Wu Tu, isn't it just a courtyard? Your broken place doesn't have many guests anyway. After I finish researching the ultimate weapon, not to mention a courtyard, even if you give me 10,000 courtyards, I won't even blink an eye. The old man sat up and said he should be an alchemist, and he was probably tinkering with some strange things. Alchemists were all madmen of invention. Maybe they would really tinker with some amazing things at some point in time. Damn, old bastard, you've already owed me more than 30 years of rent. How many immortal stones is that? Lao Wu Tu said angrily. It's only been 30 years. Why are you so anxious? My ultimate weapon will be finished soon. When the time comes, I'll pay you double. The old man continued with a solemn and confident look on his face. Lin Feng couldn't help but be curious. He didn't know what the old man's ultimate weapon was. Let's disperse. There's nothing interesting to see here. The old man stood up and said. The surrounding people dispersed one after another. Before Lao Wutu left, he scolded, "Old bastard, I'll give you 1 more month. If you can't pay the rent, I'll kick you out." After saying that, Lao Wutu and Wu Kuan left together. The old man pursed his lips. He didn't take Lao Wutu's words to heart. He glanced at Lin Feng and said angrily, "Why are you leaving? Go away as far as you can. Don't be an eyesore here." Lin Feng said, "I want to talk about a cooperation with you." "Cooperation? What kind of cooperation?" The old man looked at Lin Feng and asked in surprise. "I want to buy your ultimate weapon," Lin Feng said. When the old man heard this, he immediately became happy and said, "It seems like you have good taste. Let's talk inside. I'll make you a cup of tea." Lin Feng nodded. He followed the old man into the room. There were many things piled up in the room. It was extremely dirty, and there was nowhere to put his feet. The old man picked up a kettle from the table and found a black cup. He poured Lin Feng a cup of cold spirit tea that had been brewed at an unknown time. Lin Feng was speechless when he saw the black liquid floating on top of the tea. Was this even drinkable? He wouldn't be poisoned to death, right? Lin Feng placed the cup on the table and smiled. "Thank you for your hospitality, old man. Now, let's talk about the cooperation. My name is Ji. How should I address you?" The old man smiled and said, "Hee, don't call me old man. I'm actually very young. I just grew up a little too quickly." When he heard the old man's words, Lin Feng almost choked. Chapter 51:19. At this moment, the old man introduced himself. "My name is Pei Ying-jun. We're about the same age, so I'll call you Brother Ji from now on, and you can call me Brother Ying-jun." Lin Feng couldn't help but roll his eyes. He had seen too many shameless people, such as the Fire Qilin, Du Zhu, and the immeasurable Taoist. Each of them was thicker than the last. However, compared to this old man in front of him, the difference was like heaven and earth. Lin Feng said, "I'll call you Brother Pei." Pei Ying-jun said, "That's fine too. As long as you like it, you can call me anything. Lin Feng asked, Brother Pei, what exactly are you researching? Pei Ingjun immediately said, I'm researching an extremely powerful item called the 9 Heavenly Lightning Source Pearl. 9 Heavenly Lightning Source Pearl? What's that? Lin Feng asked in surprise. It's a rather special treasure, and I call it a bomb. Question mark. Bomb? Lin Feng couldn't help but be slightly surprised. This name, it sounded quite domineering. Is this item very powerful? Lin Feng asked. Of course it's powerful. You saw the explosion just now, right? Actually, I've already set up many restrictions, but they were still destroyed. You have to know that the sample I tested just now was extremely small. I'm looking for a perfect ratio. Once the ratio is successful, the 9 Heavenly Lightning Source Pearl won't explode. Pei Ingjun said. Lin Feng suddenly thought of the mother-child dual lightning pearls he had obtained before. The mother-child dual lightning pearls also released their power through explosion. However, the power of the mother-child dual lightning pearls could only injure Emperor Realm cultivators at most. Different bombs. The materials that were fused and the refining methods were different. Therefore, after the research was completed, the power would naturally be different as well. Lin Feng asked, Brother, if the 9 Heavenly Lightning Source Pearl you mentioned was successfully researched, how powerful would it be? Pei Ingjun smiled and said, normally a 9 Heavenly Thunder Source Pearl can easily injure a virtual immortal. Hearing this, Lin Feng couldn't help but jump in fright. *CK, are you bragging? It's just a lightning bead. How can it possess such terrifying power? Lin Feng said. This was because Pei Ingjun's words sounded unbelievable. Everyone could feel it. That was impossible. Pei Ingjun said seriously, Of course, I'm not bragging. You have no idea how rich I used to be. I became a pauper because I wanted to research the 9 Heavenly Thunder Source Pearl, because the materials needed to refine the 9 Heavenly Thunder Source Pearl are too precious. Other than those precious materials, I also need to go to the Sea of Thunder to collect the power of the 9 Heavenly Thunder Source Pearl. That is an extremely dangerous place. Entering it is almost certain death. With so many precious materials and the power of the 9 Heavenly Thunder Source Pearl, it is natural that the 9 Heavenly Thunder Source Pearl can injure a true immortal realm cultivator. After hearing Pei Ingjun's explanation, Lin Feng believed what Pei Ingjun had said before. The 9 Heavenly Thunder Source Pearl could really injure a true immortal realm expert. If 9 Heavenly Thunder Source Pearl was already so powerful, then if 10, 100, or even 509 Heavenly Thunder Source Pearls were released together, how powerful would it be? Think about it. It made one's hair stand on end. Lin Feng waved his hand, and many rivers of immortal stones flew out. The rivers of immortal stones were all sealed by Lin Feng. There were a total of 10 rivers of immortal stones. Each river of immortal stones was formed by 100 million immortal stones. The 10 rivers of immortal stones added together were 1 billion immortal stones. So many immortal stones. Countless cultivators wouldn't be able to earn that much in their lifetime. But for Lin Feng, 1 billion immortal stones was nothing. Here's 1 billion celestial stones. It's the research fund. When you finish researching the 9 Heavenly Thunder Source Pearl, don't sell it to anyone else. Give it to me, apart from the 1 billion celestial stones. When you finish researching the 9 Heavenly Thunder Source Pearl, I'll buy it from you at a high price, said Lin Feng, after seeing the 10 rivers of immortal stones. Pei Ingjun's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Pei Ingjun was in need of money now, especially in need of money. He had been researching the 9 Heavenly Thunder Source Pearl for so many years, but he hadn't succeeded. He didn't have much income these years. It was like eating his previous savings. So, Pei Ying-jun was very poor now. In order to research the 9 heavenly thunder source pearl, Pei Ying-jun had basically sold everything he could. Lin Feng's 1 billion immortal stones. It was really timely help. He didn't have to worry about immortal stones anymore. Pei Ying-jun hurriedly put away the 1 billion immortal stones and said, "Brother Lin, don't worry. I definitely won't let your 1 billion immortal stones go to waste. After so many years of research, I've already achieved great results. I feel that I've reached the most critical juncture of successfully synthesizing the 9 heavenly thunder source pearl. It's also the final juncture. Perhaps we'll see the results soon." Lin Feng naturally hoped that Pei Ying-jun could quickly develop the 9 heavenly thunder source pearl. He had a large number of 9 heavenly thunder source pearls. When the time came, he would kill gods and Buddhas. Even if the Sky Emperor came, as long as he had enough 9 heavenly thunder source pearls. He could even kill the Sky Emperor. Just thinking about it made him excited. But Lin Feng also knew he couldn't be in a hurry to develop the 9 heavenly thunder source pearl. He needed to develop it calmly. The more anxious he was, the harder it would be to successfully develop the 9 heavenly thunder source pearl. So, he had to be patient in order to successfully develop the 9 heavenly thunder source pearl. Lin Feng said, "You don't have to rush. Let's take it slow." "Hee, I'm not in a hurry. I have a card up my sleeve," Pei Ying-jun said. Lin Feng chatted with Pei Ying-jun for a while and then left. Lin Feng walked back to his residence. At this time, Lin Feng felt a gloomy aura behind him. His heart trembled slightly. He turned his head and looked behind him. A face as ugly as a ghost appeared behind him. The owner of this face was the old witch. Lin Feng felt a chill run down his spine. This old witch's cultivation was very strong. She could actually appear behind him without a sound. Lin Feng didn't even notice. If the old witch had attacked him, thinking about it, Lin Feng couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine. "Senior, people can scare people to death," Lin Feng said. "Brat, don't you understand the principle of not showing one's wealth? You're really generous, casually giving out 1 billion immortal stones." "I think you've already been targeted," the old witch said eerily. Chapter 51:20. The old witch was so powerful, yet she did not attack him. This meant that the old witch did not intend to kill him for his wealth. Lin Feng asked, "Senior, please tell me, who is targeting me?" The old witch replied, "Who else? Of course, it's that money-grubbing old thing." "Money-grubbing old thing?" Lin Feng was astonished. He thought for a moment and asked, "Are you talking about that Lao Wu-tu?" "Of course, it's him. He's not a good person." The old witch replied. Old man Wu came out from behind a big tree not far away and angrily said, "Grandma Ancestor Wu, don't you dare slander me. I think you should be the one eyeing that brat, right? How dare you slander me here? Didn't you leave already? Why are you hiding behind a big tree? You should be punished." Grandma Wu-tu curled her lips. Lin Feng couldn't help but rub his forehead. The place he had come to, it seemed like it was not a simple place. Pei Ying-jun, Lao Wu-tu, and Grandma Wu-tu were not simple existences. In fact, even the others weren't simple either. Now that he thought about it, Grandma Wu-tu could not be trusted completely. This was because of the feeling she gave off. It was very sinister and terrifying. She seemed to be a cultivator of the demonic path. She gave off a very oppressive aura. If not for Lin Feng's powerful cultivation, standing beside Grandma Wu-tu would definitely have a great impact on him. Grandma Wu-tu did not attack him. Perhaps she was afraid of Lao Wu-tu, who was hiding in the dark. All of these were highly possible. Lao Wu-tu said, "This is my home. I can go wherever I want. You can't do anything about it. Old bastard, you don't have the slightest bit of kindness in your eyes. You're not as kind as Granny. I've been watching you all this time because I was worried that you would attack this innocent young friend. Over the years, many people have died here. Do you dare say that it has nothing to do with you? Grandma Wu sneered. Of course it doesn't matter. If an old witch like you dares to spout nonsense again, do you believe that I will make you move out right now? Lao Wutu said angrily. Hee, I've been paying rent for 100 years. If you want me to move out, fine. But according to the contract, you have to pay me 3 times the amount. Grandma Wu said. Then she stretched out her shriveled right hand that looked like a ghost's claw. After seeing Grandma, which ancestors' outstretched hand, Lao Wutu's mouth twitched violently. He then said, "You should continue living here." Lin Feng was speechless. It seemed that this Lao Wutu was a very smart person. He was truly a person who loved talents as much as his own life. Leave this place as soon as possible. This is not a place for a child like you. Grandma Wu said, Hee, little friend, don't listen to this old witch's nonsense. Ever since she was dumped by someone when she was young, her brain has been abnormal. Lao Wutu said. Lin Feng was surprised. It seemed that these two people, they knew each other when they were young. It was true. It was unexpected. It's better than an old man like you. You've been single all your life, and you still have the nerve to talk nonsense about others. When you were young, I don't know who was the one who confessed to others time and time again, but was rejected again and again. Grandma Wutu said, without backing down. Lin Feng rubbed his eyebrows. These two people were actually quarreling. After being exposed, Lao Wutu's expression became extremely ugly, just as he was about to say something. At this time, a voice came from outside. Excuse me, is this a place to stay? It was a woman's voice. Listening to the voice, it was actually quite pleasant to hear. Lin Feng turned his head and saw a woman wearing a green dress. Although her clothes were not luxurious, it was difficult to hide her peerless appearance. She was tall, had white skin, and a beautiful face. She was really a woman who could make people's hearts beat faster. This tall and beautiful woman carried 9 peach with swords on her back. There was also an 8 trigrams compass hanging on her waist. This attire attracted Lin Feng's attention. Lin Feng suddenly thought of the female cultivator from the 9 Heavens Sacred Tao Hall that he heard people talking about in the space-time tunnel. He wondered if it was this woman in front of him. If it was her, that would be great. In the past, Lin Feng had once looked for that female cultivator from the 9 Heavens Sacred Tao Hall. Although he could go to the Tian family to inquire about the whereabouts of the snow dragon grass and crescent moon grass, what if the Tian family did not know? Therefore, Lin Feng had to prepare for both sides. If the female cultivator from the 9 Heavens Sacred Tao Hall could calculate the location of these 2 heavenly treasures, it would naturally be a happy matter. Yes, this is a place to stay. Little girl, you really know how to find a place. This place has the best environment in the entire ancient city. Lao Wutu said with a smile. The scenery is really good, and it's also quite peaceful. I'll stay here. The woman said. All right, I'll take you to rest now. Little girl, Lao Wutu said with a smile. The two of them left one after the other. When Lin Feng turned his head to look at Grandma Wu, however, he found that Grandma Wu had already disappeared without a trace. She really came and went like a ghost. Lin Feng stood in place, his expression uncertain. This place was a bit strange. Should he leave first? But soon, Lin Feng gave up on this idea. With his current cultivation, coupled with the many methods he had grasped, there was no need to be afraid. Moreover, Lin Feng suspected that the female cultivator just now was one of the female cultivators from the Nine Heavens Sacred Tao Hall. So, Lin Feng planned to find an opportunity to visit that female cultivator. Lin Feng returned to his residence. After waiting for about 2 hours, he guessed that the female cultivator should be almost done packing up. Thus, Lin Feng left his residence. He headed to the place where the female cultivator lived. When he arrived outside the small courtyard where the female cultivator lived, Lin Feng knocked on the door. Not long after, the female cultivator walked out and opened the door for Lin Feng. "It's you. Why are you looking for me?" The female cultivator looked at Lin Feng in surprise and asked. Lin Feng asked, "Fairy, could it be that you are the goddess oracle from the Nine Heavens Sacred Tao Hall?" The female cultivator smiled and said, "Even you have heard of my name." "Of course." Lin Feng nodded and said, "I came to find you this time to ask for your help in divination." The female cultivator said, "No problem. Come in." "Thank you." Lin Feng cupped his fists and said. Then he entered the courtyard. The female cultivator closed the courtyard door and walked in when the female cultivator came to Lin Feng's side. Lin Feng smelled a pleasant fragrance from the female cultivator's body. Lin Feng's heart couldn't help but tremble slightly. That fragrance should be her body's natural fragrance. A woman with a natural fragrance. Chapter 51:21. The female cultivator welcomed Lin Feng into the living room. Both of them sat down. The female cultivator introduced herself. "My name is Wan Lingyue, a disciple of the Nine Heavens Sacred Tao Hall." "My name is—" Lin Feng was about to introduce himself. Wan Lingyue said, "I know who you are. If my guess is correct, you should be the Sinner's Blood Emperor, Lin Feng. And this time, you've come to find me to help you deduce the whereabouts of the snow dragon grass and crescent moon grass. Am I right?" After hearing Wan Lingyue's words, Lin Feng was completely shocked. Wan Lingyue! She even knew what he was here for. Could it be that she had divined it? If that was the case, that would be too shocking. However, the more capable Wan Lingyue was, the happier Lin Feng was. Lin Feng said, "Fairy is really amazing. I admire you. It's just some insignificant skills. I don't deserve your praise." Wan Lingyue said Lin Feng, "You're too modest. I've seen many strange people over the years, but I've never seen anyone as strong as you," said Lin Feng. "Since you already know why I'm here, I won't hide my intentions. This time, I really do want to ask you to help me deduce the whereabouts of the snow dragon grass and crescent moon grass. As for the hard work required to deduce the snow dragon grass and crescent moon grass, just name it. No matter how much it is, I'll be able to satisfy you." Wan Lingyue said, "If it was someone else who asked me to deduce, I would agree. However, I can't agree to your request." Hearing this, Lin Feng couldn't help but frown slightly. He asked, "Why is that?" Wan Lingyue said, "Because I'm not proficient in the art of deduction." "Not proficient in the art of deduction? But you've already displayed an extraordinary ability." Lin Feng said. Wan Lingyue said, "My bloodline is called the mind-reading bloodline. That's why I was born with some special abilities. For example, I can see the thoughts and secrets of others." Lin Feng was moved. There was actually such a bloodline. Wasn't this too terrifying? Lin Feng couldn't help but look at Wan Lingyue warily. This woman was too scary. There were many secrets hidden in his heart. If this woman were to pry into the secrets in his heart, wouldn't that be a very bad thing? Lin Feng had no choice but to guard against this woman. At that moment, Wan Lingyue said, "Actually, sir, you don't need to be on guard against me. Even though I can read other people's thoughts, in reality, The stronger they are, the more difficult it is to read people's thoughts, said Lin Feng. Prince, you're extremely strong, and you're extremely lucky. It's extremely difficult to pry into your secrets. I've already done my best to pry into your background. If I want to pry into your secrets, you'll definitely find out, said Lin Feng. Lin Feng didn't know if he should believe Wan Lingyue's words. However, one must always be on guard against others. Thus, regardless of whether Wan Lingyue was telling the truth or not, he had to be on guard against this woman. Lin Feng said, "Fairy, you weren't brought here by Wu Kuan. Logically speaking, you shouldn't know about this place, but you specifically found this place. Why are you here?" "I'm here for the same reason you're here, Prince," Wan Lingyue said. Lin Feng was slightly surprised. Then he started to have second thoughts. Lin Feng guessed Wan Lingyue had most likely misunderstood. After Wan Lingyue saw through his identity, she must have thought that he had a very clear purpose for coming here. However, in reality, he had only come here by coincidence. Wan Lingyue obviously didn't think so. Lin Feng didn't plan to hide it from Wan Lingyue. He continued, "If I were to say that I came here by coincidence, would you believe me?" Wan Lingyue was surprised. She then nodded and said, "Of course I would believe you. Prince isn't someone who lies." Lin Feng smiled bitterly. Wan Lingyue had overestimated him. Lin Feng asked, "Fairy, can you tell me why you're here?" Wan Lingyue set up some restrictions and sealed the room. She was very cautious. After doing all this, Wan Lingyue said, "Prince, do you know about the Wu clan?" "The Wu clan? Is that Lao Wutu's clan?" Lin Feng asked. "That's right," Wan Lingyue replied. Lin Feng said, "I don't know much about it." Wan Lingyue said, "The Wu clan was an extremely powerful clan, but one of their ancestors went out and brought an extremely terrifying item with him. From then on, the Wu clan was plagued by misfortune. The members of the Wu clan died, one after another. Now, almost all of them are dead. Wu Kuan isn't actually a member of the Wu clan. He's just a child that Lao Wutu took in and was given the surname Wu by Lao Wutu." Lin Feng frowned slightly and said, "So Lao Wutu is the only member of the Wu clan left?" "That's right." Wan Lingyue nodded. "In that case, did you come here for that unknown item?" Lin Feng asked. "That's right." Wan Lingyue nodded. She paused for a moment before continuing. "Actually, I can't say that there are no clues at all. My teacher had a good relationship with a strong cultivator from the Wu family, so my teacher heard that strong cultivator from the Wu family mention that item." "Oh, there's such a thing? Doesn't that mean you know what that item is?" Lin Feng asked curiously. Wan Lingyue replied, "I heard that it's a supreme treasure called the Nine Heavens Cauldron." "The Nine Heavens Cauldron? What the hell is that? Is it very powerful?" Lin Feng couldn't help but ask. Wan Lingyue smiled bitterly. "Lin Gongzi, have you never heard of the Nine Heavens Cauldron?" "No," Lin Feng replied. Wan Lingyue said, "This item doesn't belong to our epic." "A treasure that transcends epics?" Lin Feng was shocked. "Of course, it's not that simple," Wan Lingyue said. She then lowered her voice and said, "I heard that it came from that world that can't be told." Lin Feng gasped. "It came from that world that can't be told. Didn't that mean the Nine Heavens Cauldron? It came from the world of the mastermind." Chapter 51:22. Such an item was like a hot potato. Even if they found it, they wouldn't be able to control it. What had happened to the Wu clan was the best proof of that. That was why, if they really found the Joqian God Cauldron, they would have to think carefully about whether or not they could obtain it. It would be a tragedy if they didn't get the treasure and died. Wan Lingyue said, "We don't want the treasure. We just want the Joqian God Cauldron's energy and fate." Fate and fate. Lin Feng looked at Wan Lingyue in surprise. It seemed that Wan Lingyue's goal was different from what he had expected. Wan Lingyue's words piqued Lin Feng's interest. Wan Lingyue continued, "As the Jiuqian God Cauldron, it's related to the fate of that world, so it's naturally extraordinary. Who knows how much fate and energy it has absorbed over the years? Although fate and fate can't be seen or touched, in reality, fate and fate exist in the world. It's very useful to cultivators, so I don't need to explain it. I'm sure you understand it very well. As for energy, it can help us break through our shackles and increase our cultivation." Lin Feng's heart shook. "So if we can find the Jiuqian God Cauldron, it'll be a great thing for us." "It's like that," Wan Lingyue said. "Why are you looking for the Jiuqian God Cauldron now?" Lin Feng asked. "Because my master sensed something. He said that the Jiuqian God Cauldron should appear soon and will return to that world. Before that, we'll have a chance to steal its fate and energy." Wan Lingyue said. Lin Feng said, "Your master is that powerful?" Wan Lingyue said, "Of course he's powerful. My master created the Jiuqian divine Dao Hall. His methods aren't something we can imagine." When talking about her master, Wan Lingyue showed an extremely respectful expression. It seems that deep down, she was full of reverence for her master. This made Lin Feng very curious. He didn't know what kind of person Tian Lingyue's master was. Lin Feng lamented, "The Nine Heavens God's Cauldron has returned to that world. I'm afraid that world strength will increase again." Wan Lingyue said, "There are gains and losses in everything. Perhaps there will be gains, but perhaps there will be some things that even we don't know about." This was naturally very likely. Lin Feng asked, "Do we need to wait for a while?" "That's right." Wan Lingyue nodded. She continued, "Everyone who came here probably has a goal, so if we work together, we'll have a better chance." This was a pretty good suggestion, and Lin Feng nodded in agreement. "All right, let's work together then." Lin Feng then asked, "Do you know anything about the people who live here?" Wan Lingyue nodded and said, "I know some things about them, but I don't know much. Tell me about it." Lin Feng said. Wan Lingyue said, "Pei Ingjun is an alchemist, and he probably came here by accident. As for the witch ancestor, she was a very famous expert of the devil path back in the day. She's been living in seclusion for many years, and this time she might have wanted to use the Nine Heavens God's Cauldron's power to advance. The girl who looks 7 or 8 years old is called Elder Guishan. She looks very cute, but she's not easy to deal with. Her body can't grow because of special reasons, but she's a vicious and merciless person. She's good at all kinds of powerful demonic techniques, so she can't be underestimated. The girl who looks weak is called Su Wanqing, and she's a very strong person. She's nicknamed the Poisonous Widow. Lin Feng thought of the weak girl. She was quite pretty and had a good temperament. That kind of temperament left a deep impression on people. Lin Feng didn't think that she would have such an explosive nickname. Wan Lingyue said, "These people all have some powerful methods, especially that Lao Wu Tu. The people of the Wu family died because of the Nine Heavens God's Cauldron, but he's still alive now. He's really powerful." Lin Feng nodded. He was also very afraid of that Lao Wu Tu. Lin Feng couldn't even see the depth of Lao Wu Tu's strength. Lao Wu Tu was probably the strongest and most powerful person in the group. Of course, this was just Lin Feng's guess. The other people might be stronger than Lao Wu Tu. This was also very likely. Lin Feng and Wan Lingyue chatted for a while. Then, he said goodbye and left. After Lin Feng returned to his residence, he added some new restrictions. The reason he added these restrictions was because Lin Feng felt that the people around him needed to be more careful. It was better to be safe than sorry. He didn't want to fail miserably. After doing all this, Lin Feng relaxed. There was still some time before the Tian family's auction, so Lin Feng could still stay here for a while. Lin Feng hoped that he could find the Nine Heavens God's cauldron during this time. At that moment, Sage Martin transmitted, "I advise you not to provoke the Nine Heavens God's cauldron. That thing has already given birth to a god. Aren't you courting death by provoking the Nine Heavens God's cauldron?" Lin Feng replied, "It's fine. Wealth comes from danger. One must know how to seek fortune and avoid calamity. That's the principle." Sage Martin continued, "This guy was someone who didn't want to take risks at all. Every time he encountered danger, he didn't think about how to deal with the danger, but how to avoid it." This made Lin Feng quite speechless. What a disgrace to the great immortal's name. He might as well stop calling himself Sage Martin Great Immortal and call himself Sage Martin Coward. Lin Feng ignored Sage Martin Great Immortal. He sat down cross-legged. He began to cultivate. Late at night, Lin Feng suddenly felt that the weather had become very cold. Wisps of coldness swept through his body, which surprised Lin Feng. His cultivation was so strong, so how could the coldness enter his body? Lin Feng walked out of his room and went to the courtyard outside. He looked up at the sky and saw a silver moon and stars. The starry sky was very beautiful. However, the coldness couldn't be dispelled. Lin Feng's heart couldn't help but tremble slightly. Could this coldness invading my body have something to do with the Nine Heavens God's cauldron? Bang, bang, bang. Chapter 51:23. Lin Feng frowned slightly. It was already the latter half of the night. Who would knock on his door? There weren't many people living here. "Who is it?" Lin Feng asked. "Young master, I am Han Yu." "Greetings, young master." At this moment, a voice came from outside. It was his brother's woman's voice. The moment he heard this voice, Lin Feng immediately rolled his eyes. Didn't Wu Kun say that this place was very quiet? Was there absolutely no one to disturb him? It was his first night here. There was actually a female cultivator knocking on his door to promote him. "He's already asleep. Fairy, please take your leave." Lin Feng said he had no interest in this kind of female cultivator. To put it bluntly, with Lin Feng's current status, it wouldn't be a problem for him to be a groom every night. With a hook of his finger, a large number of fairies would throw themselves at him. So, as for these prostitutes, naturally he had no interest in them. However, the female cultivator in front of him had no intention of leaving. She said, "Young master, you have misunderstood me. I am not a person who does that. This time, I really have something to discuss with you, and it is an extremely important matter." "You don't do that." Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter. Then he said, "Then I'm really sorry. I hope Fairy won't blame me." Lin Feng arrived at the courtyard door. He then opened the courtyard door. Then Lin Feng saw a beautiful woman. This woman was indeed beautiful. Her exquisite facial features made people gasp in amazement. Tall and charming figure, fair as jade skin, charming and flirtatious eyes. The goddess was talking about this kind of woman. Of course, Lin Feng was used to seeing all kinds of beauties. Therefore, even when facing this goddess in front of him, he was still very calm. "Let's talk inside," Lin Feng said. "Thank you, young master." The female cultivator bowed to Lin Feng. "Fairy, you're welcome," Lin Feng said. She did not get up on her own. A pair of charming eyes looked at Lin Feng, as if she wanted Lin Feng to help her up. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. He then reached out and helped the female cultivator up. "Many thanks, young master," the female cultivator said in a sweet voice. Her voice was very soft. after hearing her voice. Even Gugu felt like he was about to melt. Lin Feng and the female cultivator entered the courtyard together. Lin Feng closed the courtyard door. He then led the female cultivator to the living room. Lin Feng asked, "I haven't seen you before. Did you just move in?" "I've lived here for a long time." The woman said. Wu Kuan said that there were 5 people living here, except for Wu Kuan and Lao Wu too. Lin Feng had already met Grandma Wu and the others. There was only one person he had never seen before. Could it be this woman in front of him? That was a possibility. Lin Feng said, "Fairy, you said that you're called Han Yue? May I know your full name?" "My full name is Guang Han Yue." The woman said, "This name sounds pretty good." Lin Feng said, actually what he was really thinking was that the name sounded a little sad. This was indeed a rather sad name. However, these words were a little rude. Therefore, Lin Feng did not say these words out loud. "Young master, you flatter me." Guang Hanyue said, "Fairy, you said that you had something to talk to me about. May I know why you've come to find me?" Lin Feng went straight to the point. "I saw that you have an extraordinary aura and am very fond of you. That's why I came to see you." Guang Hanyue stood up and walked towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng couldn't help but touch his chin. Was her charm already that great? Lin Feng was about to reject her, but at that moment, Guang Hanyue had already sat on Lin Feng's thighs and wrapped her arms around Lin Feng's neck. Guang Hanyue's series of actions stunned Lin Feng. Wasn't this too open? I'm a conservative man. However, even Lin Feng himself didn't believe it. "You're playing with fire. Do you know that?" Lin Feng said, "I like to play with fire." Guang Hanyue said. Her hands moved back and forth on Lin Feng's back. Then, slowly, she touched Lin Feng's spine. Just as she was about to touch Lin Feng's spine, many runes appeared on Lin Feng's back, blocking Guang Hanyue's attack. Lin Feng looked at Guang Hanyue with a smile, yet not a smile. "You must be disappointed, right?" "What are you talking about?" Guang Hanyue looked confused. "Pretend. Keep pretending," said Lin Feng. "Didn't you want to break my spine a moment ago?" Guang Hanyue said, "How could you misunderstand me like that? I like you, so I came here to confess my feelings," said Lin Feng indifferently. "Even though I'm very charming, I'm not that stupid. I'm not the kind of man who loses his soul because of a woman's words," said Lin Feng indifferently. Guang Hanyue looked as if she was about to cry. "To put it bluntly, you still don't believe me. Are you worthy of my trust?" Lin Feng reached out and pinched Guang Hanyue's chin. "What a beautiful face. So beautiful. So scary. Of course I'm worthy of your trust, but you don't believe me." Guang Hanyue looked very sad. She muttered to herself, "My heart belongs to the bright moon, but the bright moon shines in the ditch. If you don't believe me, I'll leave now." Lin Feng put his arm around Guang Hanyue's waist, not letting her leave. Instead, he said, "Do you know how you've exposed yourself?" "Exposed myself? I don't know what you're talking about," Guang Hanyue said sadly. Lin Feng continued, "You're very good at pretending. For example, your beautiful face, your hot body, your flirtatious eyes, and your lovable personality. But there's something you didn't do well." Guang Hanyue didn't say anything. She just looked at Lin Feng. "Shadow." Lin Feng smiled. "Is there something wrong with my shadow?" Guang Hanyue asked. "Aren't you a fox spirit? Your shadow doesn't seem to have a tail." Lin Feng said with a smile that didn't seem like a smile. The reason why Lin Feng knew that Guang Hanyue was a fox spirit was because he had noticed that she had 9 fox tails under her dress. Her clothes were slightly bulging, but her silhouette was slim, which meant something was wrong. When Guang Hanyue heard Lin Feng's explanation, she was slightly stunned. Then Her expression became quite unsightly. I'm surprised that you were able to notice such a small thing, Guang Hanyue said calmly. Thank you for the compliment. You shouldn't have a shadow. So, are you a ghost? Lin Feng asked. Chapter 51:24. Just as the 3,000 strands of hair were about to pierce through Lin Feng's head, an energy wall suddenly appeared in front of Lin Feng. As a result, the 3,000 strands of hair were all blocked by Lin Feng's energy wall. The woman then sent a palm strike towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng stretched out his hand to block the woman's palm strike. When the two sides collided, the woman used this palm strike to quickly retreat more than 10 meters away. She landed in the living room. Lin Feng waved his hand, and a dense array of restrictions sealed the living room. You're really capable. The woman looked coldly at Lin Feng. Lin Feng looked at the woman with interest and said, You still haven't answered me. Are you a human or a ghost? The woman sneered and said, I am a ghost immortal, an undying and indestructible ghost immortal. As soon as she finished her sentence, Yi Zichen's eyes widened. The shadow that she had used a special method to create disappeared without a trace. Ghosts had no shadows, no matter if it was a low-level ghost or a high-level ghost. They all had no shadows, even if it was as powerful as a ghost immortal. There was no shadow either. For example, the female ghost immortal, ordinary ghosts that had evolved to the ghost immortal level, had already shed some of the characteristics of ordinary ghosts. Ordinary ghosts did not have flesh and blood, and were only bodies of energy. But ghost immortals were different. Ghost immortals had long since developed flesh and blood, and belonged to a different kind of life form. To be precise, they could be considered as living creatures in the underworld and not living creatures in the world of the living. Even as powerful as the ghost immortal, they could not stay in the world of the living for too long. This would cause great harm to their bodies. But why was this ghost immortal here? Lin Feng did not know for the time being. Why are you looking for me? Lin Feng looked at the female ghost immortal and asked. The female ghost immortal said, Because I want to absorb your yang qi. Rumor had it that ghosts could absorb yang qi to stay in the world of the living and also increase their cultivation. This was quite similar to some evil techniques. For example, some harvesting techniques. There was also the saying of absorbing yang energy. If you just want to absorb yang qi, you can go outside and absorb yang qi. You don't have to take the risk to come here. Lin Feng said indifferently, I can't go out, so I can only absorb your yang qi. The female ghost immortal said, Can't get out? Are you trapped here? Lin Feng looked at the female ghost immortal in surprise. Yes. The female ghost celestial nodded and said, So you should let me eat you. As soon as he finished speaking, the female ghost immortal once again charged towards Lin Feng. This time, the female ghost immortal's fingernails kept growing longer. In an instant, they were already 0.5 meter long. Lin Feng took out the black dragon sword and charged at the female ghost immortal. Lin Feng's sword slashed towards the female ghost immortal. The ghost immortal sneered in the face of Lin Feng's attack. She showed no fear at all. The female ghost immortal's sharp claws were her weapons. Clang! Accompanied by the sound of a violent collision, Lin Feng and the female ghost immortal collided fiercely. When Lin Feng's black dragon sword slashed at the female ghost immortal's sharp claws, it was unable to cut off the female ghost immortal's sharp claws. These claws were too terrifying. The female ghost immortal's other claw quickly swept towards Lin Feng. 5 claws. 5 claw lights were formed. In an instant, they arrived in front of Lin Feng. The power of the 5 claw lights was extremely terrifying. It made people's hair stand on end. Facing the female ghost immortal's attack, Lin Feng did not dare to be careless. Many runes appeared on the surface of his body. Those were magic immunity runes. Every single rune. They all contained an astonishing defensive power. When the claw lights swept over, the magic immunity runes on the surface of Lin Feng's body suddenly emitted an astonishing fluctuation. Most of the power of the 5 claw lights was blocked by Lin Feng's magic immunity runes. Only a part of the power was not blocked. That part of the power was neutralized by Lin Feng's powerful body. But even so, Lin Feng was still sent flying. Fortunately, Lin Feng was not injured. You're really powerful, as expected of the female ghost immortal. Lin Feng took a deep breath and said, "You're also very powerful. Someone as powerful as you must have a very strong yang qi. If I devour you, my cultivation will definitely increase a lot." The female ghost immortal said coldly. She quickly rushed towards Lin Feng, wanting to launch an even more violent attack on Lin Feng and the others. But at this moment, Lin Feng took out the Bell of Hell King. Then Lin Feng sent out a series of runes. Those runes all entered the Bell of Hell King. Lin Feng knew how to use the Bell of Hell King. With the increase of his cultivation, the power of the Bell of Hell King was gradually activated by Lin Feng, and the Bell of Hell King was the nemesis of the creatures of the underworld. The Bell of Hell King emitted a terrifying fluctuation. Then, the Bell of Hell King quickly attacked the female ghost immortal. The female ghost immortal did not recognize the Bell of Hell King. After all, very few creatures of the underworld knew the existence of the Bell of Hell King, and the female ghost immortal in front of them was not a creature of the underworld. She directly used her sharp claws to sweep at the Bell of Hell King, as if she wanted to sweep it away. But when the female ghost immortal's claws collided with the Bell of Hell King, the female ghost immortal's claws actually started to burn quickly. It was like an ordinary person's hand had been put in concentrated sulfuric acid. Ah! The female ghost immortal could not help but let out a painful scream. Her expression was one of shock. She did not expect that Lin Feng's magic treasure would be so powerful. It actually caused such serious damage to her. The female ghost immortal did not dare to continue fighting with the Bell of Hell King. She quickly retreated and pulled away from the Bell of Hell King. "What is that magic treasure of yours?" The female ghost immortal asked with an ugly expression. "Bell of Hell King. Have you heard of it?" Lin Feng asked. "The supreme treasure of the underworld king." The female ghost immortal's expression became more and more ugly. The suppression of the Bell of Hell King on creatures like her was unimaginable. If Lin Feng did not have the Bell of Hell King, she felt that she should be able to kill Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng had the Bell of Hell King. She felt it. She had no chance of winning at all. "Today I want to catch you. I plan to tame you and raise a female ghost immortal as a slave. It should be a good experience," Lin Feng said with a smile. Then, he controlled the Bell of Hell King to suppress the female ghost immortal. After seeing the Bell of Hell King flying towards her, the female ghost immortal's eyes revealed a trace of fear. Just now, the Bell of Hell King had caused serious damage to her. Female ghost immortal. Her memory was still fresh. The female ghost immortal did not dare to hesitate. She turned around and flew out. When the female ghost immortal rushed to the door, she smashed her palm towards the restriction set up by Lin Feng. However, she did not destroy the restriction set up by Lin Feng. Chapter 51:25. You won't be able to escape. You're destined to become my prisoner, Lin Feng said with a cold smile. The Bell of Hell once again arrived in front of the female ghost immortal. Then it fiercely charged towards the female ghost immortal's body. Just as it was about to hit the female ghost immortal's body, suddenly the female ghost immortal's body disappeared without a trace. Even the Bell of Hell lost track of the female ghost immortal's whereabouts. The female ghost immortal's methods were truly extraordinary. Namo Amit Ba. Lin Feng clasped his hands together, like a holy monk. When his voice was heard, suddenly, endless Buddhist light surged out. Those Buddhist lights were rolling in the void. It filled every corner of the room. Screech. The female ghost immortal let out a painful scream. The power of Buddhism. It restrained these evil ghosts. The female ghost immortal was naturally restrained. Of course, it also depended on the cultivation of the person who used the Buddhist sacred art. If the person who used the Buddhist sacred art was not strong enough, even if he used the Buddhist sacred art, he would not be able to restrain the female ghost immortal. But Lin Feng was strong enough. So, the female ghost immortal was destined to be restrained by Lin Feng. The female ghost immortal appeared and looked at Lin Feng fiercely. Lin Feng said, "If you obediently submit to me, you will be able to suffer a lot less. I will not submit to anyone." The female ghost immortal replied coldly, "Then I'll suppress you." Lin Feng said. Under Lin Feng's control, a large amount of Buddhist karma enveloped the female ghost immortal. At the same time, the Bell of Hell also suppressed the female ghost immortal. Lin Feng's double attack put a lot of pressure on the female ghost immortal. Something appeared in the female ghost immortal's right hand. Upon closer inspection, it was a black flag. That black flag should be a powerful supreme treasure. But as for what kind of treasure it was, Lin Feng was not particularly clear. The female ghost immortal activated the black flag. In an instant, the black flag rapidly grew in size. The female ghost immortal held the black flag in her hand. It's the Empyrean flag. At this time, the demon lord's voice resounded in Lin Feng's mind. The demon lord sounded very surprised. Lin Feng was flabbergasted. What exactly was that treasure? Why was the demon lord so surprised? "What is the heavenly god flag?" asked Lin Feng telepathically. "A conferred god, the supreme treasure of the era that could command conferred gods. The battle flag of the United States." The demon lord said. Hearing this, Lin Feng couldn't help but be shocked. The heavenly god banner was actually so extraordinary. The female ghost immortal actually had such a supreme treasure. What is the background of this female ghost immortal? He even had a treasure like the heavenly god flag. At this moment, the female ghost immortal waved the heavenly god flag. When the heavenly god flag was waved, the heavenly god flag swept out waves of terrifying power, dispersing the surrounding Buddhist light. Even the Hell King Bell was sent flying. The power of the heavenly god flag was really powerful. However, when the female ghost immortal activated the heavenly god flag, her face became extremely pale. Although the heavenly god flag was powerful, the heavenly god flag could command conferred gods. The battle flag. This kind of thing could condense a conferred god. The will to fight was extremely strong and yang. And the female ghost immortal was a Yin spirit. Although the female ghost immortal had already condensed a flesh and blood body and was not very different from a normal person, her essence was still a Yin spirit. Therefore, the current female ghost immortal, she would be restrained by a magic treasure that was extremely strong and yang. Buddhist magic treasures were extremely strong and yang magic treasures, and the heavenly god flag was also a magic treasure that was extremely strong and yang. Although the female ghost immortal could activate the heavenly god flag. However, so what if she could activate the heavenly god flag? She would still be restrained by the heavenly god flag. This was her weakness. There was nothing she could do about it. Therefore, The female ghost immortal couldn't activate the heavenly god flag for a long time. The female ghost immortal didn't dare to stay and quickly rushed outside. This time, the female ghost immortal waved the heavenly god flag in her hand and swept it towards the restrictions set up by Lin Feng. Bang! Accompanied by the sound of a violent collision, the female ghost immortal's heavenly god flag directly destroyed the restriction set up by Lin Feng. Then, the female ghost immortal quickly rushed outside. After Lin Feng put away the bell of Hades, he chased after her. In the void, ghost chi churned. The female ghost immortal hid in the ghost chi and quickly rushed towards the depths. Lin Feng chased after him, unwilling to give up. Do you really want to fight to the death? The female ghost immortal said, fiercely. Lin Feng said, I don't think it will be a life and death struggle. You shouldn't have the ability to kill me, and I am very interested in capturing you. After hearing Lin Feng's words, the female ghost immortal's face became even more gloomy. She continued to fly towards the depths. Lin Feng's speed was much faster than the female ghost immortal's, so the distance between the two of them was constantly shrinking. Perhaps it wouldn't take long. He would be able to catch up to the female ghost immortal. The two of them, one running and one chasing, finally arrived at the depths of the mansion. The depths were extremely eerie and terrifying. Not a single blade of grass grew. After arriving here, it was as if they had arrived at the underworld. Moreover, the deepest part of the mansion was sealed by restrictions. The female ghost immortal quickly rushed into the deepest part of the mansion. The restrictions here are so powerful, but they seem to have loosened. Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself. The restrictions in the depths had loosened, so he could try to enter the restrictions now. If he encountered any danger, he would consider coming out. Lin Feng believed that with his array formation skills, there would be no problem in coming out if he encountered any danger. Wanting to trap him, this was not an easy task. Lin Feng entered the courtyard. He quickly passed through the various restrictions. The restrictions here were extremely terrifying. However, those restrictions were unable to cause any harm to Lin Feng. Lin Feng arrived at the deepest part of the mansion. At the deepest part, the yin qi was the heaviest. Lin Feng looked into the depths and couldn't help but slightly frown. At the deepest part of the mansion, there was actually a well. That well emitted an extremely eerie aura. Did the female ghost immortal enter this well? Lin Feng looked at the well. It was pitch black down there. He couldn't see anything. Therefore, Lin Feng didn't know what was going on down there. Lin Feng was hesitating whether or not to go down and take a look. After thinking for a while, Lin Feng made his decision. Although it was very likely that it would be extremely dangerous down there, Lin Feng wanted to capture the female ghost immortal. If he didn't go down and take a look, naturally, he wouldn't be able to capture the female ghost immortal. Chapter 5126. WW. by Chapter 5127. Lin Feng entered the well. He dove all the way down. This well was very deep. It emitted a sinister and terrifying aura. What surprised Lin Feng was that there was no well water in this well. There was only demonic aura that filled the well. After entering the well, Lin Feng was extremely careful because this was the female ghost immortal's territory. So he had to be careful, or else that would be too dangerous. If he was the slightest bit careless, he could die here. The female ghost immortal was an extremely terrifying existence. She was not a character that could be easily manipulated. After diving for about 2 hours, Lin Feng was still unable to dive to the deepest part. Lin Feng could not help but be speechless. Wasn't this well too deep? Where was the bottom? Lin Feng could only patiently continue to dive down. About another hour or so passed. Lin Feng saw a black light barrier appear below. He revealed a hint of joy. It seemed he had finally reached the bottom. Lin Feng entered the black light barrier. As soon as he entered, before he could clearly see his surroundings, a cold voice sounded. "Since you want to die, then I can fulfill your wish." This was the female Ghost Immortal's voice. The female Ghost Immortal naturally knew that Lin Feng had chased after her all the way here. So, when Lin Feng came down, the female Ghost Immortal immediately activated the powerful restriction here. After all kinds of great formations were activated, Lin Feng was instantly sent flying by those great formations. However, before he was sent flying, Lin Feng had already activated the ruler's armor. In addition, Lin Feng had used the technique of magic immunity. So, 80% of the power was successfully neutralized by Lin Feng. Only 20% of the power was left on Lin Feng's body. However, that 20% of the power was also successfully neutralized by Lin Feng's incomparably powerful body. At this moment, Lin Feng could finally observe the situation around him. He discovered this was a world shrouded in darkness, emitting an eerie and terrifying aura. In the world of darkness, there were terrifying restrictions everywhere. The female Ghost Immortal stood not far away and looked at him coldly. "The last thing you should have done was to chase me all the way here. Now that you've chased me all the way here, you won't be able to escape even if you have wings." The female Ghost Immortal looked coldly at Lin Feng. Lin Feng said, "She's so beautiful and charming, but why is her temper so bad? Can we talk peacefully?" "Hee, you came here to kill me, and you want me to talk calmly? You're really shameless." The female Ghost Immortal sneered. Lin Feng said, "Don't make it sound so bad. I'm not trying to kill you. I'm just trying to guide you onto the right path." The female Ghost couldn't help but roll her eyes after hearing Lin Feng. It was true. He was shameless, invincible in the world. "Go to hell." The female Ghost Immortal shouted coldly. She continued to activate the various powerful restrictions around her to attack Lin Feng. The power of those restrictions was indeed terrifying. When those restrictions were activated by Lin Feng, a terrifying wave of energy immediately filled the air. Very quickly, those restrictions began to attack Lin Feng. All kinds of terrifying attacks bombarded Lin Feng. When he first came down, Lin Feng was caught off guard, so he wasn't able to dodge the attacks. But now it was different. Lin Feng was able to observe everything around him, and he had enough time to react. Therefore, when Lin Feng faced those restrictions again, he was able to handle them with ease. Lin Feng's inheritance of the Celestial Master Tao was displayed to the extreme at this moment. Lin Feng quickly shuttled through the powerful restrictions, successfully dodging all the attacks. It was true. Powerful methods. He was quickly approaching the female Ghost Immortal. When she saw Lin Feng quickly approaching her, the female Ghost Immortal's face couldn't help but become incomparably ugly. She originally thought that with the restrictions here, it wouldn't be a problem to kill Lin Feng. But who would have thought that Lin Feng was actually able to freely shuttle through the various restrictions? What kind of method was this? It was really shocking, and the female Ghost Immortal was quite vexed. "Let's go." Seeing that Lin Feng was about to reach here, the female Ghost Immortal didn't dare to hesitate. She turned around and ran because the female Ghost Immortal knew if this continued, she would be caught by Lin Feng, so she could only take advantage of this opportunity to escape. By the time Lin Feng arrived next to him, it was already too late to escape. However, the female Ghost Immortal still underestimated Lin Feng's ability. The moment she escaped, Lin Feng had already rushed out of the restrictions. Then, Lin Feng used the 8 Directions World and quickly chased after the female Ghost Immortal. Lin Feng's speed was simply too fast. He quickly caught up to the female ghost immortal. Lin Feng took out the Bell of Hell. Under Lin Feng's control, the Bell of Hell quickly grew larger and then crashed towards the female ghost immortal. Facing the attack of the Bell of Hell, the female ghost immortal didn't dare to be careless. She quickly dodged the attack of the Bell of Hell. The female ghost immortal's ability was extraordinary. She successfully dodged the attack of the Bell of Hell. But at this time, Lin Feng used his 12-fold domineering magnetic field. The 12-fold domineering magnetic field directly enveloped the female ghost immortal and then suppressed her. After the female ghost immortal was enveloped by Lin Feng's 12-fold domineering magnetic field, she was instantly sent flying. Her battle strength was reduced by at least 50%. The moment the female ghost immortal was sent flying, Lin Feng had already arrived beside her. Then he sent a palm strike towards the female ghost immortal. The female ghost immortal hurriedly exchanged a palm strike with Lin Feng. The female ghost immortal felt as if she was struck by lightning. Her body flew backwards. Her magic power became incomparably chaotic. Her injuries were not light. Lin Feng immediately sent out numerous runes. Those were the runes condensed by Lin Feng's 8 god forbidden seals. They were very powerful. Those runes imprinted on the female ghost immortal's body and immediately sealed her. "Let me go," the female ghost immortal struggled, but she couldn't break free. She was now Lin Feng's prisoner. Lin Feng heaved a sigh of relief. He finally suppressed the female ghost immortal. Fortunately, the female ghost immortal couldn't use the divine god flag for a long time. If she could use that magic treasure for a long time, it wouldn't be realistic to suppress the female ghost immortal. Lin Feng arrived in front of the female ghost immortal. Then he stretched out his hand and touched the female ghost immortal's scarily smooth face. This face was really smooth. She didn't look like a female ghost at all. However, the female ghost immortal's life level was very high. She was indeed different from ordinary female ghosts. "Be obedient and be my slave. I won't mistreat you." Lin Feng pinched the female ghost immortal's chin and said, looking at this face up close. Chapter 51:28. Lin Feng thought of many words to describe the celestial ghost's beauty. She was beautiful enough to cause the downfall of a city or a moon. She was worthy of any description. Female ghost immortal. She was so beautiful, so moving. "Just kill me," said Lin Feng. The female ghost immortal said. Lin Feng said, "Didn't you just say that you are an undying existence? I don't think I can kill you." The female ghost immortal rolled her eyes. She felt that Lin Feng must have done it on purpose. This was because cultivators liked to boast about their abilities. In this world, how could there be an immortal in the true sense? Even the undead creatures of the underworld could be revived if they were killed. In fact, as long as one found the right method, they could also be killed. Therefore, the female ghost immortal did not pay attention to Lin Feng. This was because she felt that Lin Feng was both shameless and despicable. "You actually dare to ignore me. Do you believe that I won't let you see me naked right now?" Lin Feng said with a smile, his right hand on the belt of the female ghost immortal's clothes. He had to undress the female ghost immortal at any time. This scared the hell out of the female ghost immortal. "You're shameless." The female ghost immortal looked at Lin Feng angrily. "Thank you for the compliment." Lin Feng said, "You're shameless." The female ghost immortal continued to scold. "That's one of my strengths." Lin Feng continued. The female ghost immortal was speechless as she looked at the man in front of her. This guy could turn a weakness into a strength. How could his skin be so thick? Whether it was in her previous life or this life, the female ghost immortal had never seen such a shameless person. Lin Feng said with a smile, "Next, You will answer whatever I ask you. You won't reject me anymore, right? Of course, the female ghost immortal didn't want to bother with Lin Feng. However, she was really worried that this shameless guy, Lin Feng, would do something excessive to her. Right now, the female ghost immortal's level of life was already very high, coupled with the fact that she had condensed a new body of flesh and blood. She was no different from a normal cultivator. The only difference was that she did not have a shadow, but that didn't affect anything. The female ghost immortal also knew how charming she was. Therefore, she was really worried that Lin Feng would eat her clean. She felt that Lin Feng was someone who could do such a thing. The female ghost immortal also valued her chastity very much. All right. The female ghost immortal gritted her teeth as she answered Lin Feng. Lin Feng didn't care about the female ghost immortal's attitude. He asked, "Name." The female ghost immortal answered, "Guanghan Moon." This name was exactly the same as the name that the female ghost immortal had told him. "How many years have you been here?" Lin Feng continued to ask. The female ghostly immortal said, "Time is long. I turned into a vengeful spirit and became a female ghostly immortal. It took a long time. Most of the time, I was muddle-headed, so I don't know how long it was." Lin Feng nodded and asked, "Why didn't you enter the underworld?" The female ghostly immortal replied, "I can't enter the underworld." "Why?" Lin Feng asked, puzzled. Generally speaking, any spirit or ghost like the female ghost immortal could enter the underworld world. The underworld was their final destination. This was the first time that Lin Feng had heard that ghosts couldn't enter the underworld. "I've been cursed," the female ghost immortal said. She seemed to have thought of something sad. So when she said this, she couldn't help but reveal a heartbroken expression. "What happened in the past?" Lin Feng continued to ask. The female ghost immortal was silent. "So many years have passed. Can't you get over it?" Lin Feng asked. The female ghost immortal said, "The pain didn't happen to you, so it's natural for you to say it so easily. Only those who have experienced it know how difficult it is to overcome it." Lin Feng said, "I understand how you feel, but the past is the past. It's time to face a new life. So be bold and tell me what happened in the past. That way, you can face the future." "Can I?" The female ghost immortal couldn't help but mutter to herself. She wasn't sure either. "Of course you can," Lin Feng said with certainty. The female ghost immortal fell silent for a while before saying, "Back then, I was killed by someone I trusted. I died very, very miserably. I even became a sacrifice. It's funny when I think about it. I thought that the promise of eternal love would bring me happiness in the future, but in reality, I walked step by step into the abyss." "Is it related to the Wu family?" Lin Feng asked. The female ghost immortal sighed and nodded. "Yes, it's related to the Wu family." "What exactly is going on?" Lin Feng asked. "My father obtained a treasure called the Joqian Cauldron. It was very special. It was sealed and could not be opened. Once it was opened, many terrible things would happen. However, when my father obtained the Joqian Cauldron, the seal of the Joqian Cauldron had already loosened. My physique is special, and my bloodline can suppress the seal of the Joqian Cauldron. Therefore, my father left the Joqian Cauldron with me. Later, when I went out to train, I met someone. He was very strong, very young, very handsome, and very good to me. How could I have experienced such things at that time? Therefore, I had a good impression of him. But we weren't from the same world. He was from the undying world, and I was from the celestial world. I brought him to see my parents. I told my parents that I liked him very much. I hoped that I could go to the undying world with him. He also made a lot of promises to my parents. she said. I won't travel far with my parents. Lin Feng said, Yes, I won't travel far with my parents. The celestial world and the undying world are very, very far apart. The female ghost immortal sighed. My parents didn't agree because the journey was too far. They couldn't be at ease with me going to the undying world, but I insisted and they finally agreed. After that, I came to the undying world and went to the Wu family. I thought that I would have a happy life. He promised to marry me and prepared a wedding for me, but on the night of the wedding, he changed. Chapter 51:29. That's a sad story, he said. Lin Feng said, Maybe it's because I can't see through people. Now that I think about it, my parents didn't want me to come to the undying realm. Maybe it wasn't just because the undying realm was too far away from the heaven realm. Maybe there were other reasons. But at that time, I was blinded by love, so I didn't listen to their advice. Therefore, they didn't tell me about their worries. Under my insistence, they finally compromised, said the female ghost immortal. Are you saying this because you hate your parents for not standing up for them? Lin Feng couldn't help but ask. The female ghost immortal said, Why would I hate my parents? I only have love for them. I only regret now. Why did I choose to leave my parents back then? If they knew about my death, would they be extremely sad? They didn't come looking for you? Lin Feng asked. I don't know. The female ghost immortal shook her head. At that time, the female ghost immortal was just a vengeful spirit and didn't have her own thoughts. So, even if the female ghost immortal's parents came looking for her, she probably wouldn't know. Therefore, the female ghost immortal really didn't know about this matter. Do you know why that person treated you so cruelly? Could it be that all the vows of eternal love were fake? Lin Feng asked. Maybe he knew about the 9 heavens god cauldron long ago, so he deliberately approached me. Maybe he found out later, but in front of benefits and me, he chose benefits and abandoned me. The female ghost immortal said, sadly. It was indeed not an easy thing to walk out of such a sorrowful thing. Even after so many years, the female ghost immortal still couldn't completely walk out of this matter. Maybe she could say that she didn't care anymore, but in reality, she still cared about many things. What happened after that? The cultivators of the Wu family died, one after another. What happened? Is it related to the 9 heavens god cauldron? Lin Feng asked. When he asked this question, Lin Feng didn't have much hope of getting an answer, because the female ghost immortal should have died at that time. She probably didn't know what happened after that. The female ghost immortal said, I didn't experience what happened after that, but my father said that the 9 heavens god cauldron is a supreme treasure to the people of that world, but to us, it's a disaster. Therefore, when the people of our era open the seal of the 9 heavens god cauldron, it's very difficult to control it. There's a high chance that we would be devoured by the 9 heavens god cauldron. Hearing this, Lin Feng couldn't help but frown slightly. If that was the case, the tragedy of the Wu family might really be related to the 9 heavens god cauldron. In fact, at first, Lin Feng had some sympathy for the Wu family, but now he didn't. Many things in the world were about the cycle of karma. The Wu family killed the female ghost immortal's previous life, Guang Hanyue, to satisfy their ambitions, but in the end, they were devoured by the 9 heavens god cauldron. Perhaps this was the so-called cycle of karma. I heard that the 9 heavens god cauldron is still here. I wonder if you found out where it is after all these years. Lin Feng asked. I've tried to find the 9 heavens god cauldron's location, but I didn't find any clues. Even so, I still feel that the 9 heavens god cauldron should be hidden somewhere. The female ghost immortal said. Lin Feng frowned slightly. The female ghost immortal didn't know where the 9 heavens god cauldron was hidden. If that was the case, He could only look for other clues. Lin Feng said, "Perhaps I can help you escape, but I don't know how. You know?" The female ghost immortal looked at Lin Feng in shock and said, "Are you really willing to help me?" Of course, Lin Feng nodded. Hearing Lin Feng's words, the female ghost immortal immediately became happy. She said, "Come with me." Lin Feng nodded and removed the seal on the female ghost immortal. Then he followed the female ghost immortal into the depths. The space in the underground world wasn't small. With the female ghost immortal leading the way, Lin Feng flew for 2 hours before arriving at their final destination. At the end of the underground world, there was a huge altar. 9 thick copper pillars stood on top of the altar. On one of the bronze pillars, there was a skeleton tied to it. Even though there was only a skeleton left, it could still be seen that it was left behind by a woman. Because the skeleton was relatively slender, which was a characteristic of a woman's skeleton. Men's skeletons were usually thicker. "That's my skeleton. I can't get close to that place. Young master, go over and take my skeleton and bury it in the ground. I'll be able to escape the curse of this place and leave this place." The female ghost immortal said, "All right, wait a moment." Lin Feng said. He was about to fly towards the altar, but at that moment, a rustling sound could be heard. After hearing that sound, Lin Feng stopped and walked outside. An old man smoking a pipe walked over. It was Lao Wu-Tu. "Little friend, why aren't you sleeping at night? What are you doing here?" Lao Wu-Tu looked at Lin Feng and asked. Lin Feng said, "I was attacked by a female ghost, so I chased after her." "Are you talking about this female ghost? She has indeed been here for a long time. Many customers have been killed by this female ghost. It can be seen that this female ghost is not a good person, so we should stay away from her." Lao Wu-Tu said. Lin Feng said, "Since you know that this female ghost has killed many people, why don't you kill her?" Lao Wu-Tu sighed and said, "How can it be so easy to kill her? Her methods are too powerful. It's already good that she didn't kill you. Right now, this female ghost's body is bound, so her strength is greatly reduced. If little friend releases the corpse of this female ghost's previous life, then she will no longer be bound, and her battle strength will definitely increase greatly. At that time, it will be a disaster for everyone, including you. Would you believe the words of a female ghost? Ghosts are the best at deceiving people because the words of ghosts are all nonsense, and naturally, ghosts cannot be trusted. Now that you mention it, it makes sense." Lin Feng nodded. The female ghost immortal's expression suddenly changed. She said, "Young master, everything I said is the truth. I definitely did not deceive you. Young master, don't listen to this person's words to sow discord." Chapter 51:30. What's the point of saying that? Everyone knows whether they should believe lies or not. Lao Wu-Tu said, "I'm going to kill you." The female ghost immortal screamed and charged towards Lao Wu-Tu. Lao Wu-Tu waved his sleeve, and a terrifying force surged out. The female ghost immortal was sent flying. Lin Feng narrowed his eyes and looked at Lao Wu-Tu. This old man's cultivation was very strong. Although the female ghost immortal's strength had decreased because of the previous battle and her injuries, she was still very strong. However, she had been easily sent flying by Lao Wu-Tu. This Lao Wu-Tu was really unfathomable. "Who are you? Aren't all the Wu clan members dead? Why are you the only one who survived? Furthermore, when my divine sense was born, I noticed that you were spying on me, but after so many years, you never attacked me. What exactly are you planning?" The female ghost immortal asked sternly. "I'm not killing you because I can't kill you," Lao Wu-Tu said indifferently. Then he looked at Lin Feng and said, "Little friend, leave now. I know why you're here. When the time comes, You just have to fight for the opportunity you want. Nobody will stop you. Forget about everything else. Don't leave me. The female ghost immortal looked at Lin Feng. In her eyes, there was pleading and fear. Maybe it was just like many years ago when she was burned alive by the person she loved. She used to trust people, but she had ended up like that. Now, she was trying to trust someone else, but she didn't know what the result would be. She was afraid. She had been abandoned again. Lin Feng looked at Lao Wutu and said, I think that ghosts are harmless, but people can deceive people. People's hearts are much scarier than ghosts. Ghosts are straightforward, while people beat around the bush. Does that mean you want to meddle in other people's business? Lao Wutu looked at Lin Feng with a sinister smile. Said Lin Feng, how could that be called meddling in other people's business? Isn't there a saying that saving a life is better than building a 7-story pagoda? You saved a female ghost immortal, not a human, Lao Wutu said coldly. Lin Feng said, I take back what I said just now. Saving a ghost is better than building a 7-story pagoda. The corner of Lao Wutu's mouth twitched violently when he heard Lin Feng's words. Lao Wutu could not help but curse in his heart. This guy, how could he be so shameless? Truly shameless people are invincible in this world. You don't know what's good for you. Since that's the case, this old man will send you to heaven. Lao Wutu looked at Lin Feng with an indifferent expression. He leaped out and instantly arrived beside Lin Feng. Then he directly sent a palm strike towards Lin Feng. So fast, Lin Feng could not help but be shocked. Lao Wutu's speed was indeed too fast. It was unbelievably fast. Fortunately, Lin Feng's reaction was also extremely fast. Lin Feng reacted in an instant. Then he sent a palm strike towards Lao Wutu. Bang! The two sides fiercely collided. Following the violent sound of the collision, Lin Feng felt an earth-shattering force rushing towards his body. That force, it fiercely bombarded Lin Feng's body. Lin Feng was instantly sent flying. You're too weak. Lao Wutu sneered and continued to attack Lin Feng. He wanted to kill Lin Feng in one go. Lin Feng was shocked. How could this old man be so strong? Just as Lin Feng was about to make a move, Lao Wutu had already arrived beside Lin Feng. He once again sent a palm strike towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng's expression became ugly. Facing Lao Wutu's attack, Lin Feng had no time to use his divine ability. Therefore, he could only block Lao Wutu's terrifying attack with his arms. Bang! Lao Wutu's tyrannical attack bombarded Lin Feng's arms. Lin Feng was immediately sent flying by Lao Wutu. Lao Wutu chased after Lin Feng. For the third time, he launched an attack on Lin Feng. At this time, the female ghost immortal rushed over and clawed at Lao Wutu with her sharp claws. Get lost! Lao Wutu coldly looked at the female ghost immortal and sent a palm strike through the void. In the middle of his palm, a question mark appeared. D-word. Legend has it that when Buddha was born, he held a question mark. D-word. This question mark, D-word, represented an extraordinary meaning. Bang! Lao Wutu's attack collided with the female ghost immortal. The female ghost immortal was greatly restrained by Lao Wutu's attack and was sent flying. Her face was as white as paper. Her body fell to the ground and twitched in pain. From time to time, she would scream in pain. Old thing, eat my spear. Lin Feng took this opportunity to take out his epic war spear and attacked Lao Wutu with it. Xianyuan Dipper Shield. Lao Wutu's voice was indifferent. With a wave of his hand, a huge golden light shield appeared in front of him. That golden shield's defensive power was astonishing. When Lin Feng's spear pierced through, It was blocked by Lao Wutu's golden shield. Lao Wutu's palm struck Lin Feng's chest. Lin Feng was sent flying by Lao Wutu's palm strike. Cough, cough. Lin Feng started coughing violently. Although he was wearing the Dominator's armor and using dermic immunity, Lao Wutu's palm strike still caused some damage to Lin Feng. This old thing, Lao Wutu, was too terrifying. He had underestimated this old thing. He didn't expect this old thing to be so strong. You're just an ant. So, what if you have a powerful supreme treasure? You still can't escape death. Lao Wutu's voice was cold. He was like a grim reaper from hell as he charged at Lin Feng. The Xianyuan Dipper's shield floated in front of him. This guy was good at both offense and defense. He was really a troublesome character. It was too difficult to deal with this kind of cultivator. At this moment, Lin Feng knew that the situation was dangerous. So, Lin Feng decided not to hide his strongest battle power. The Dominator's armor, the Golden Dwarf, the Magic Lotus, the Saint Bone, and the power of his external incarnation all flowed into Lin Feng's body. Lin Feng suddenly sensed that his fighting strength had started to increase rapidly, although Lin Feng didn't know the powerful spear technique that went with the epic war spear. However, Lin Feng's battle power soared. Even if he didn't know the powerful spear technique that went with the epic war spear, he could still release the power of the epic war spear. Die. Lin Feng held the epic war spear and stabbed at Lao Wutu. Chapter 50:131. Facing Lin Feng's attack, Lao Wutu still used his Xianyuan Tiangang shield to block it. Lin Feng couldn't help but laugh coldly. This guy was really confident. Did he really think that his attack was still the same as before? His attack was different now. Things are no longer the same as they used to be. You'll be crying soon. Lin Feng's epic war spear once again stabbed Lao Wutu's Xianyuan Tiangang shield. Last time, the Xianyuan Tiangang shield blocked the epic war spear's attack. But this time, it couldn't block the epic war spear's attack. Puff! A tearing sound was suddenly heard. Lao Wutu's Xianyuan Tiangang shield was directly pierced through by Lin Feng's epic war spear. The epic war spear then went straight for Lao Wutu's neck. Lao Wutu's expression suddenly changed. He didn't expect Lin Feng to be able to break through his defensive shield. However, Lao Wutu was strong, and his reaction was extremely fast. When Lin Feng's spear was still a distance away from Lao Wutu, the old man had already moved to the left. Lin Feng's spear pierced through the air. Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. He directly used total annihilation. The war spear in his hand swept towards Lao Wutu. The epic war spear swept out a powerful spear light. The powerful spear light directly tore through the void and instantly arrived in front of Lao Wutu, sweeping towards him. Lao Wutu was shocked and quickly retreated. Even so, his neck was still swept. Suddenly, a huge wound appeared, and blood flowed out continuously. Damn it! Lao Wutu couldn't help but roar in anger. He was actually injured, which made Lao Wutu quite angry. Lao Wutu's hand flashed. Suddenly, a halberd appeared. Lin Feng could not help but roll his eyes and say, "Holy shit! You're actually using a weapon like the halberd? Aren't you embarrassed? Don't you think your current appearance is an insult to the halberd?" After hearing Lin Feng's ridicule, Lao Wutu's heart was filled with hatred. He said coldly, "Kid, I'm going to grind your bones to dust later." "Old thing, I'm afraid you don't have that ability." Lin Feng sneered and charged toward Lao Wutu again with his epic war spear. Lin Feng's spear stabbed toward Lao Wutu. Lao Wutu swept his halberd toward Lin Feng. Clang! Lin Feng's epic war spear and Lao Wutu's halberd collided fiercely. A loud clang. The sound reverberated throughout heaven and earth. The surrounding void was actually shattered by the shockwave. The collision of such power was truly terrifying. After Lao Wu Tu took out his treasure, his battle prowess had greatly increased. Therefore, it was not easy to rely on the epic war spear to deal with Lao Wu Tu. Even though Lao Wu Tu was injured, it was still quite difficult to deal with him. He needed to use some new methods. Lin Feng used the 1 Qi into 3 Pure Ones technique. 2 doppelgangers manifested. Together with Lin Feng, they surrounded Lao Wu Tu. Then Lin Feng's original body and his clones combined to display 12 layers of domineering magnetic fields. After the 12 layers of domineering magnetic fields were displayed, the 12 layers of domineering magnetic fields suppressed Lao Wu Tu. After being enveloped by Lin Feng's 12 layers of domineering magnetic fields, Lao Wu Tu's battle prowess was greatly reduced. The domineering magnetic fields could reduce a cultivator's battle prowess, but how much? It was related to 2 aspects. The first aspect, the number of layers of domineering magnetic fields. The more layers of domineering magnetic fields, the more powerful it was, and the more obvious the suppression on the cultivator's cultivation base. The second aspect, the cultivator's cultivation base, was suppressed by the domineering magnetic fields. The stronger the cultivator's cultivation base was, the stronger their ability to resist the domineering magnetic fields. The domineering magnetic fields had less suppression on the cultivator's cultivation base. These 2 aspects complemented each other. Because Lao Wu Tu's cultivation base was relatively high, Lin Feng's domineering magnetic fields did not suppress Lao Wu Tu's cultivation base as much as imagined. Lin Feng's domineering magnetic fields only weakened Lao Wu Tu's battle prowess by 30%. But to be honest, it weakened Lao Wu Tu's battle prowess by 30%. It was already very impressive. In addition to weakening Lao Wu Tu's battle prowess, Lao Wu Tu's speed was also greatly restricted. Lin Feng's battle prowess, under the support of the domineering magnetic fields, was greatly increased. Therefore, in this situation where one side was weakened and the other side was strengthened, the gap between the 2 sides suddenly became obvious. Clang, clang, clang. Lin Feng's original body and his 2 clones continuously fought with Lao Wu Tu for more than 10 rounds. Lao Wu Tu was suppressed. Lao Wu Tu's face became more and more ugly. Perhaps this old thing definitely did not expect that he would be suppressed to this extent by a young cultivator. Kid, do you really want to fight to the death with me? Lao Wu Tu's expression darkened as he looked at Lin Feng. Old thing, now that I've offended you, if I don't kill you, I won't be able to eat or sleep in peace. Lin Feng sneered as he said. His attacks became more and more fierce. Lao Wu Tu's resistance became more and more difficult. At this time, the female ghost immortal also recovered a lot, so she also joined the battle. Because Lao Wu Tu was suppressed by Lin Feng's original body and his 2 clones, it was difficult for him to divert his attention to deal with the female ghost immortal. Therefore, after the female ghost immortal joined the battle, Lao Wu Tu's situation became worse and worse. Several times, Lao Wu Tu was almost killed, but Lao Wu Tu's cultivation was strong enough to turn danger into safety. But even so, Lao Wu Tu's back was torn by the female ghost immortal and one of Lin Feng's clones, leaving 2 deep wounds on his back. Blood stained his back red. Lao Wu Tu suddenly let out a burst of angry roars. Then his body emitted a crackling sound. Then a shocking scene occurred. Lao Wu Tu's body, he actually became younger, and his body also became taller. Damn, what's going on? Could it be that he's going to transform? Seeing the situation in front of him, Lin Feng was suddenly very shocked. You all should go to hell. Lao Wu Tu's cold voice came out. Then His body completed a transformation in an extremely short period of time. His body changed from a white-haired old man to a cultivator in his 30s. Seeing Lao Wutu's transformation, Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter, "Was this still Lao Wutu? Wasn't this too young?" Author's note: I'm feeling much better after catching a cold. 9 chapters today. Please subscribe to the original version. Recently, the subscription hasn't been ideal. Old Mantu's heart is stifled. There's a new member in the family, and I need money. Everyone come to QQ to read or subscribe to the original version of the archaic dragon-esque elephant technique. Chapter 5132. It's you. It's actually you. You're still alive. When the female ghost immortal saw the transformed Lao Wutu, her eyes were filled with boundless hatred. Lin Feng was very surprised that the female ghost immortal knew Lao Wutu. Soon, Lin Feng thought of Lao Wutu's identity. Could it be that Lao Wutu's true identity was the man who abandoned the female ghost immortal back then? The man who harmed the female ghost immortal back then? That was really possible. This guy was actually still alive. Lin Feng originally thought that this guy had died long ago. There was a saying that went, "Good people don't live long, but scourges live for 1,000 years." This saying was indeed true. That's right, it's me, Han Yue. I still love you, so when I found out that you had a vengeful spirit, I helped you gather baleful yin qi in order to help you condense a body. Now that you've condensed a body of flesh and blood, I'm very happy to see that you've condensed a body of flesh and blood. I've always wanted to reunite with you, but because I was worried that you would still hold a grudge against me, I didn't reunite with you and have been silently protecting you in the dark. Lao Wutu said. Of course, now that this guy had become younger, it was no longer appropriate to call him Lao Wutu. Wu Yuan, do you think I'll believe your nonsense? Back then, you caused me to be so miserable, yet you still have the nerve to say such words. I'm really embarrassed by your shamelessness. The female ghost immortal coldly looked at the younger old man Wu. So this guy's name was Wu Yuan. His name sounded pretty good, but he was so bad that he oozed pus. Wu Yuan said, Han Yue, I know you hate me. You should hate me. After all, I did something wrong to you back then. But can you listen to my explanation? Things have already come to this. What else do you want to explain? The female ghost immortal coldly said. Wu Yuan said, we were about to get married that day, but before that, I was controlled by the god of the 9 heavens god cauldron. The god of the 9 heavens god cauldron was controlled. It was really too powerful. I couldn't fight against the god of the 9 heavens god cauldron. The cauldron controlled my body and did many wrong things, including burning you to death here. My heart was about to break at that time, and I even thought of destroying my own soul to accompany you. However, I was unwilling to do so. I had to destroy the cauldron before I could go to hell to accompany you. That's why I've been living an ignoble life until now. Fortunately, God has eyes and actually allowed you to refine your body again. I'm really happy to see that you've been able to survive this tribulation. Wu Yuan's words was full of tenderness. Lin, Han Yue's god Kai, was the immortal? You're not lying? The female ghost immortal asked. Wu Yuan replied, of course I didn't lie to you. How? Asked the immortal. Wu Yuan said, it's because of the 9 heavens god cauldron. It secretly controlled my body and put a curse on it. All these years, I've been resisting the 9 heavens god cauldron, but it's very difficult to fight against this guy. However, if you can help me, I'll definitely be able to destroy it. Do you know where the 9 heavens god cauldron is? Asked the immortal. Wu Yuan nodded. Of course I do. The 9 heavens god cauldron is trapped under the 8 trigrams array in the center of the mansion. How can I help you? Asked the immortal. Join forces with me to kill this kid, and use his blood to deal with the god of the nine heavens god cauldron. His bloodline is very terrifying. It's unprecedentedly terrifying. So his bloodline can deal with the god of the nine heavens god cauldron. It'll cause a lot of damage. That's the only way we can succeed, said Wu Yuan. Lin Feng was speechless. Fuck, he wants to sacrifice me? You can't believe this guy's words. However, the immortal chose to remain silent. She didn't answer Lin Feng or Wu Yuan. Her expression was gloomy, and no one knew what she was thinking. Seeing the immortal's expression, Lin Feng's expression sank. He felt that things weren't going well. I know that this guy helped you before, so you don't want to kill him. But think about it carefully. This guy wanted to take you as a slave because he coveted your beauty. Maybe he did all these things for you just to make you like him and then find an opportunity to attack you. But I'm different from him. I love you wholeheartedly without any selfishness. As long as I destroy the Joqian cauldron, I don't know how many innocent people will be saved. This is a good thing for heaven and earth. When the time comes, the curse that the Joqian cauldron imposed on me will disappear, and I'll be free. Then we can be together again. Wu Yuan continued. Wu Yuan is right. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and agree to his request. At that moment, a voice came from outside. Following that, a cultivator flew over. It was none other than the old witch. Who are you? The immortal looked at the old witch and asked. She had naturally seen the old witch before, but she didn't know much about her identity. I'm a dying person, but I want to seize this opportunity to resolve the crisis of my lifespan. Let's destroy the nine heavens god cauldron together. When the time comes, I'll be able to devour the energy inside the cauldron. At that time, my cultivation will be greatly enhanced, and I'll be able to defy the heavens and change my fate. You and Wu Yuan can also live together. It's really killing two birds with one stone. Grandma Wu continued to speak. Count me in. At that moment, another cultivator flew over. It was the girl who looked only a few years old. Her name was Ghost Mountain Child, and she was also an extremely powerful cultivator. After Elder Ghost Mountain flew over, Su Wanqing also flew over and said, I should be able to help. Ha ha ha. With your help, this kid will definitely die today. Wu Yuan laughed loudly, looking extremely proud. What about you? Lin Feng looked at the immortal. The immortal said, I won't participate in this matter. Wu Yuan smiled and said, It's good that you don't participate. Lin Feng was very depressed. The immortal had chosen not to participate, which was no different from betraying him. Next, he would have to face Wu Yuan, Grandma Wu Zhu, Ghost Mountain Child, and Su Wanqing. Chapter 51:33. Although he was very depressed, he still had to face it. At the same time, Lin Feng felt a little emotional. It seemed that the so-called kindness was nothing in front of her old lover. It didn't mean anything, although it was a little heart-wrenching. The world of cultivators had always been very cruel. To talk about friendship with others? Forget it. This was a world that ate people without spitting out the bones. Unless it was your biological parents who might be sincere to you, everyone else might betray you. Impulse is the devil. I think there's some misunderstanding between us. Maybe we can sit down and talk calmly. Lin Feng said. Wu Yuan said righteously, Boy, we don't want to kill you, but for the sake of the world, we must kill you. After hearing Wu Yuan's words, Lin Feng suddenly had the urge to curse. He made it sound like he was a heinous demon. Yes, we're killing you for the sake of the world, so I hope you can understand our good intentions. Elder Guishan said. Grandma Wu Zhu said, Sacrificing you will bring happiness to millions. Su Wanqing didn't say such shameless words, but she obviously decided to participate in the battle against Lin Feng. Then let's see if you can kill me. Lin Feng said indifferently. His two clones stood beside him, and the three pure one's divine ability hadn't dissipated yet. So now Lin Feng was in his peak state. Do it, Wu Yuan said indifferently. He held the sky piercer and attacked Lin Feng. Elder Ghost Mountain took out a Ghost Emperor streamer. The Ghost Emperor streamer began to shake violently in the void. Every time it shook, it couldn't help but shake out waves of extremely powerful fluctuations. It was also an extremely powerful supreme treasure. Su Wanqing held a jade Rui magic treasure in her hand. Every time she waved the jade Rui magic treasure in her hand, it would sweep out a terrifying light beam. Grandma Wuzu took out a demonic blade. With a sweep of the demonic blade, the void was destroyed. Lin Feng naturally didn't want to be outdone. Together with the two great clones, he fought against the four great experts. However, the methods of the four experts were all very powerful. Lin Feng's original body was still manageable. There was no problem for the time being, but Lin Feng's two clones were in an extremely bad situation. This was because Lin Feng had been using the one qi into three pure ones for a while now. Therefore, the battle prowess of the two clones had actually dropped quite a bit. As time passed, the strength of the two clones would continue to drop. Therefore, in this kind of confrontation, the two clones were gradually unable to hold on. In the end, the two clones completely disappeared. The situation wasn't looking good. Lin Feng planned to break out of the encirclement. It was obviously not a wise choice to stay and fight. Lin Feng swung the epic war spear at the four experts. The terrifying spear light collided with the opponent's attack. The four experts were forced to retreat. Lin Feng's epic war spear was truly powerful. However, using the epical war spear consumed a lot of energy. It couldn't be maintained for long. Lin Feng felt that his spiritual energy was being consumed too quickly. Therefore, he didn't continue to fight. After repelling the four experts, Lin Feng quickly rushed outside. At this moment, Wu Yuan had actually taken out a powerful treasure. It was a mirror. The mirror emitted a beam of light. In front of Lin Feng, a Star River world suddenly appeared. No matter how Lin Feng flew, he couldn't fly past that Star River world. Damn, so strange. Lin Feng couldn't help but shout gloomily. Lin Feng had some powerful treasures. Others also had powerful treasures. This was unavoidable. Now that Lin Feng was trapped by someone else's powerful treasure, it was really troublesome. Kid, you can't escape. Prepare to die. Wu Yuan sneered. He, Elder Ghost Mountain, Su Wanqing, and Grandma, which all attacked Lin Feng together. Lin Feng was surrounded by the four of them. The two sides immediately engaged in a fierce battle. In this battle, Lin Feng was entangled by the four of them. He couldn't escape. Lin Feng's expression became gloomier. Kid, just obediently accept your death. Why do you have to make such a pointless struggle? Elder Ghost Mountain said gloomily. Struggle my ass. Lin Feng cursed. You're courting death, Elder Ghost Mountain shouted angrily. The Ghost Emperor banner shook even more violently. The Ghost Emperor banner's power was constantly increasing. Wu Yuan said, this kid's spiritual energy is being consumed very quickly. Let's put in more effort, and we can definitely kill him. Wu Yuan also began to increase his offensive power. Su Wanqing didn't say anything, but she was using her actions to increase her threat. Su Wanqing's Jade Scepter's power was constantly increasing. Grandma Witch's demonic blade's power was also constantly increasing. Just as the four experts were increasing their power and wanted to take down Lin Feng in one go. Suddenly, in the void, an 8 trigrams Dharma treasure flew over. The 8 trigrams Dharma treasure quickly grew in size and started to spin rapidly in the void. With each spin, the treasure's power would suddenly increase by a lot. The 8 trigrams treasure directly shattered the river of stars and flew above everyone. Terrifying beams of light shot out from the 8 trigrams treasure towards Wu Yuan, Elder Ghost Mountain, Su Wanqing, and Grandma Witch. Originally, the 4 of them wanted to kill Lin Feng in one go. However, they were suddenly attacked by the 8 trigrams treasure and had no choice but to block it. Lin Feng took advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get rid of the 4 of them. He saw the person who had used the treasure to help him escape. It was none other than Wan Lingyue. "You came just in time," said Lin Feng, taking a deep breath. "It's so lively here. After I heard the commotion, I naturally wanted to come and join in the fun," Wan Lingyue said. At this moment, Wu Yuan, Elder Ghost Mountain, Su Wanqing, and Grandma Witch had already blocked the 8 trigrams treasure's attack. They didn't know who had forged the 8 trigrams treasure, but it was extremely terrifying. It was definitely a top-level treasure. Wu Yuan looked coldly at Wan Lingyue and said, "What do you mean by this? Do you want to join forces with this kid? If that's the case, then you're our enemy. However, if you join forces with us to deal with this kid, then you'll definitely get a lot of benefits from the 9 Heavens God Cauldron." Wu Yuan wanted to pull Wan Lingyue along. Lin Feng couldn't help but frown slightly. He couldn't control other people's thoughts, so Lin Feng didn't know what Wan Lingyue's decision would be. Wan Lingyue sneered and said, "I've always been a person of my words. Since I've joined forces with Brother Lin, then I'm Brother Lin's ally. After killing you, the 9 Heavens God Cauldron's opportunity will be mine and Brother Lin's." Lin Feng was so touched that he almost burst into tears. "Little Sister Lingyue is really a good person. I really want to hug you." Chapter 51:34. "Since you want to die with this brat, we can help you," said Lin Feng coldly. Wu Yuan immediately sneered as a dense killing intent appeared in his eyes. Grandma Wu said, "This girl's bloodline is also very strong. Isn't it better to sacrifice them together? We'll send the 2 of you to hell. Boy, it's a good thing to have such a beautiful girl accompany you on the road." Lin Feng said, "I already knew that you weren't a good person. Now I've confirmed my guess. You're really not a good person. I'll beat you until you kneel and call me Grandpa." Grandma Wu said angrily, "Boy, your mouth is really cheap. When I catch you later, I'll make sure you die without a burial place." After the old witch finished speaking, the 4 strong cultivators once again surrounded Lin Feng and Wan Lingyue. The 2 sides fought fiercely. It was a stalemate. For a while, it was difficult to do anything to each other. "I have a secret technique. Let's combine our strength to deal with them." Wu Yuan shouted when he saw that he couldn't defeat Lin Feng, and Wan Lingyue, Grandma Witch Ancestor Witch Mountain Child, and Su Wanqing all agreed. Then, their powerful spiritual energy flowed into Wu Yuan's body. "My secret technique is called all-directional deterrence. It can form a special magnetic field. When this magnetic field is formed, it can immediately erupt with an unimaginably strong deterrent force. Any cultivator who is enveloped by this deterrent force will be suppressed. Those with a weak cultivation level will probably die on the spot." Wu Yuan said proudly. As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Zichen's voice fell. Wu Yuan started to condense this special magnetic field. This magnetic field was a bit similar to the domineering magnetic field, but it was different. When Wu Yuan condensed this magnetic field, Lin Feng immediately felt an extremely terrifying pressure fill the air. This pressure contained a very strange and terrifying energy. This kind of power couldn't be underestimated. "Lend me a hand," Lin Feng looked at Wan Lingyue and said, "Okay." Wan Lingyue nodded, and her magic power started to flow towards Lin Feng. Now, Lin Feng thought of using the domineering magnetic field to deal with Wu Yuan's method. After all, Wu Yuan's method seemed to be similar to a magnetic field. Although it wasn't the domineering magnetic field, it was still extremely terrifying. As the saying goes, fight poison with poison. Now, Lin Feng planned to attack the magnetic field with the magnetic field. Of course, Lin Feng was no longer able to condense 12 domineering magnetic fields. This was because the prerequisite for condensing the 12 domineering magnetic fields was that Lin Feng could also use the 1 qi into 3 pure ones. However, Lin Feng had just used the 1 qi into 3 pure ones. This ability needed to cool down for a period of time before it could be used again. Therefore, Lin Feng could only activate 4 domineering magnetic fields. Of course, in Lin Feng's opinion, 4 domineering magnetic fields were already strong enough. With the support of Wan Lingyue's spiritual power, Lin Feng felt that the spiritual power in his body had become much stronger. He guided Wan Lingyue's spiritual power to converge with the spiritual power in his body. Then, Lin Feng began to try to condense 4 domineering magnetic fields. Soon, the 4 domineering magnetic fields were condensed by Lin Feng. Lin Feng's domineering magnetic fields shrouded Wu Yuan's omniscient deterrence. The 2 attacks suddenly collided in the void, and then a stalemate was formed. Lin Feng's 4 domineering magnetic fields were only supported by the spiritual power of Lin Feng and Wan Lingyue, but it was able to form a stalemate with the omniscient deterrence. It could be seen that Lin Feng's 4 domineering magnetic fields were stronger. Both sides were trying to suppress each other, and the 2 magnetic fields formed a special field. When the balance was tilted, the other side would suffer from the attack brought about by this domain. This kind of force field was extremely terrifying. Once one was attacked by this kind of force field, it was very likely that the cultivator would suffer a fatal injury. Therefore, whether it was Lin Feng's side or Wu Yuan's side, they didn't dare to stop easily. Both sides wanted to see who would be the first to give up. "Han Yue, help me kill that boy." At that moment, Wu Yuan looked at the female ghost immortal. "I already said that I won't participate in this battle." The female ghost immortal refused Wu Yuan again. Wu Yuan said, "Han Yue, I know that in your heart you must believe what I said before. That boy helped you because he wanted to obtain your body. He's ambitious, so you don't have to care about old feelings and you don't have to feel sorry. Kill him, and we can use his blood to destroy the Jiuqian god of the 9 heavens and earth cauldron." Think about it. All these years we can't get married because of the Jiuqian god of the 9 heavens and earth cauldron. You want to get rid of the Jiuqian god of the 9 heavens and earth cauldron? Not only will we be able to take revenge, but we will also be able to help countless innocent people and prevent them from being wiped out. How great of a fortune is this? Don't tell me that you want to put yourself and countless pitiful people in danger just because you can't bear to kill this person? After hearing Wu Yuan's words, Lin Feng suddenly had the urge to stomp this guy to death. This guy really deserved a beating. He was clearly not a good person, but now he actually bit back. However, Lin Feng did not say anything. He did not know what choice the female ghost immortal would make. Lin Feng did not have much hope for the female ghost immortal. After all, previously, when Lin Feng was surrounded by the 4 experts, the female ghost immortal chose to stand by and watch. It was already a betrayal. Could it be that he still hoped that the female ghost immortal would have a conscience and help him? All right, I promise you. The female ghost immortal nodded. Great, we'll be able to be together very soon. Wu Yuan immediately revealed a smile. However, a sinister look appeared in the depths of his eyes. That sinister look was hidden very well by Wu Yuan. Thus, no one saw it. The female ghost immortal quickly flew over from afar. Her nails were the most powerful magic treasure. When she passed by Wu Yuan said, "Don't destroy his soul. Leave his soul. I have a use for it." Okay. The female ghost immortal nodded. The corners of Wu Yuan's mouth curled up into a sinister smile. Just as the female ghost immortal was about to fly towards Lin Feng, she suddenly exploded. Her sharp claws pierced towards Wu Yuan's chest. Wu Yuan's expression was filled with shock. He did not expect the female ghost immortal to suddenly attack him. He wanted to dodge, but it was too late. Puff! In the next moment, the female ghost immortal's sharp claws directly pierced Wang Yuan's chest. Chapter 5135. Why is this happening? Why did you suddenly attack me? Wu Yuan looked at the female ghost immortal in disbelief. The female ghost immortal's sudden attack caught him off guard. Because I didn't believe anything you said. I acted as if I had forgiven you on purpose. You invited me to help you kill Mr. Lin, but I didn't agree. I told you that I wouldn't help either side because I wanted to lower your vigilance. If I had agreed to help you kill Mr. Lin, you would have been suspicious. I needed to wait for a good opportunity to attack. Now, you're in a deadlock and you want me to attack again. This is the best opportunity I've been waiting for. The female ghost immortal said proudly, "You actually treat me like this. I'm completely infatuated with you." Wu Yuan said with difficulty. The female ghost immortal sneered and said, "Even now, you're still lying to me? I know. You must be worried that I'll destroy your heart. So you said such a lie. You know, I clearly felt that when you said those words, your heart beat a lot faster. So I won't be fooled by you again. Go to hell." At this moment, Wu Yuan raised his right hand and sent a palm strike toward the female ghost immortal. That palm, it was condensed when Wu Yuan and the female ghost immortal were talking. This guy and the female ghost immortal's conversation was just to distract the female ghost immortal. The female ghost immortal sneered and directly dug out Wu Yuan's heart. Bang! In the next moment, Wu Yuan's tyrannical palm strike landed on the female ghost immortal's shoulder. The female ghost immortal was sent flying, and her face became paler and paler. Fortunately, when he attacked, Wu Yuan's battle power had already dropped tremendously. So, although the female ghost immortal had taken Wu Yuan's palm strike, that palm strike, for the female ghost immortal, it wasn't fatal. This could be considered a blessing in disguise. "My heart, give it back to me." Wu Yuan pounced toward the female ghost immortal. "You want the heart? In your next life." The female ghost immortal sneered, and a powerful ghost fire appeared in her palm. The ghost fire burned fiercely. Wu Yuan's heart was instantly burned to ashes. Wu Yuan, who had lost his heart, began to tremble violently. He fell straight down from the sky. Then, his body began to age rapidly. "Master, save me," Wu Yuan begged loudly. "Trash." At this moment, a cold voice came from Wu Yuan's body. When the voice came out, Wu Yuan's body quickly burned to ashes. Then, a black cauldron appeared in Lin Feng's line of sight. That cauldron, it exuded an extremely terrifying fluctuation. The Nine Heavens cauldron. When Lin Feng and the others saw the black cauldron, they couldn't help but be astonished. This was the Nine Heavens God cauldron they had been searching for. The Nine Heavens cauldron. It was unexpected that it was hidden in Wu Yuan's body. Lin Feng was very puzzled. Why was the Nine Heavens God cauldron hidden in Wu Yuan's body? There must be a reason. Let's call a truce. Our goal is the Nine Heavens cauldron, Grandma Wuzu said. Lin Feng couldn't help but raise his eyebrows slightly. Although he really wanted to kill Grandma Wuzu, and the others. But now, it was indeed not good to continue fighting. Continuing to fight with Grandma Wuzu, and the others would only continue to weaken his and Wan Lingyue's strength. This point, Lin Feng was very clear. Okay, let's call a truce for now. Lin Feng said. He made it very clear that they were calling a truce for now. After the matter here was settled, they would still be enemies. Is he really under your control? The female ghost immortal looked at the Nine Heavens God Cauldron and asked. Back then, he knew about the Joqian Cauldron a long time ago, so he slowly approached you and tricked you into coming to the undying world. Then, he found a way to communicate with me. In order to become stronger, he sold his soul to me, said Lin Feng. The god of the Nine Heavens God Cauldron said. The female ghost immortal had already expected all of this. The question just now was actually to preserve the last trace of a beautiful illusion. But this beautiful illusion was destroyed by the god of the Nine Heavens God Cauldron. It was completely destroyed. The female ghost immortal found that she was no longer sad. This surprised the female ghost immortal. It seemed she had really walked out of the past. What have you been planning all these years? Asked the female ghost immortal. The god of the Nine Heavens God Cauldron. I've been planning to completely open the seal. The female ghost immortal frowned and asked, back then, you sacrificed me. Could it be that you still couldn't open the seal? Maybe it's because your cultivation wasn't strong enough back then, so even after sacrificing you, you still couldn't completely open the seal. You should be very curious as to why your clan's bloodline could open my seal. The god of the Nine Heavens God Cauldron asked the female ghost immortal. It's because my bloodline is a little special, said the female ghost immortal. No. The god of the Nine Heavens God Cauldron. The real reason is because the person who sealed me back then was your clan's ancestor, the seventh celestial master, Guang Taizong. It was that old fart who sealed me. So, to open the seal, I need your clan's blood. The god of the Nine Heavens God Cauldron, said the female ghost immortal. After hearing the Nine Heavens God Cauldron's words, Grandma Wuzu and the others came back to their senses. Wu Yuan had said that he could use Lin Feng and Wan Lingyue's blood to destroy the Nine Heavens God Cauldron. It was a bunch of nonsense. He probably wanted them to kill each other. In the end, he would capture all of them in one fell swoop. Grandma Wuzu and the others couldn't help but curse Wu Yuan in their hearts. At this moment, Lin Feng was a little shocked. The seventh celestial master was actually the female ghost immortal's ancestor. This was really shocking. All these years, have you been waiting for me to condense a body of flesh and blood? Asked the female ghost immortal. The Nine Heavens God Cauldron said, yes, I've been waiting for you to condense a body of flesh and blood. Then I'll sacrifice you a second time. That way, I should be able to completely open my seal. Because your soul isn't perfect yet, I wanted to wait for a while. But now, it seems that I can't wait any longer. So you can die now. As soon as it finished speaking, the Nine Heavens God Cauldron flew towards the female ghost immortal. A powerful devouring power surged out of the cauldron. The Nine Heavens God Cauldron wanted to devour the female ghost immortal. Ninth update. I haven't recovered from my cold, so I'm going to sleep, looking for monthly votes, recommendation tickets, genuine subscription. Chapter 5136. The female ghost immortal turned around and fled toward Lin Feng, trying to avoid being devoured by the Nine Heavens God Cauldron. However, this was obviously not an easy task because the Nine Heavens God Cauldron had completely locked onto the female ghost immortal. When the female ghost immortal rushed toward Lin Feng, the Nine Heavens God Cauldron released a powerful devouring force that enveloped the female ghost immortal. The female ghost immortal tried to struggle, but was unable to break free. Her body quickly flew toward the Nine Heavens God Cauldron. Just as she was about to be devoured by the cauldron, Lin Feng appeared beside the cauldron. He held the battle spear in his hand and directly whipped it toward the cauldron. Although the Nine Heavens God Cauldron was a powerful treasure, Lin Feng's epical battle spear was equally terrifying. Therefore, when Lin Feng's epical battle spear struck the Nine Heavens God Cauldron, there was a sonorous sound of collision. The Nine Heavens God Cauldron was immediately sent flying by Lin Feng, and the female ghost Immortal managed to escape from being devoured by the Nine Heavens God Cauldron. Boy, how dare you ruin my plans? The god of the Nine Heavens God Cauldron, it could not help but roar furiously, its voice filled with murderous intent. It originally wanted to devour the female ghost immortal and then break the seal, but it could not do so because it was sent flying by Lin Feng at the most critical moment. It was really mad. Lin Feng did not care about the Nine Heavens God Cauldron at all. Instead, he looked at the female ghost immortal and said, "Stay away. Don't let this guy get close to you." The female ghost immortal quickly nodded and flew into the distance. At this moment, the Nine Heavens God Cauldron pounced toward Lin Feng. After being ruined by Lin Feng, the god of the Nine Heavens God Cauldron, he hated Lin Feng to the core. He wanted to crush Lin Feng's bones and scatter his ashes. It also knew that if it did not get rid of Lin Feng, it could forget about devouring the female ghost immortal. Lin Feng would definitely stop it. Seeing the Nine Heavens God Cauldron coming quickly, Lin Feng immediately shouted in a deep voice, "Everyone, what are you waiting for? Why aren't you attacking the Nine Heavens God Cauldron? Do you want to miss out on this opportunity?" Hearing this, the others nodded one after another. Grandma Witch, Elder, Ghost Mountain Child, and Su Wanqing rushed toward the Heavens God Cauldron. Lin and Wan Wan Lingyue were to kill the God Cauldron. The five began to the cauldron, to fight, to engage, to fight, to kill. Lin Feng tried to suppress the Nine Heavens and Earth Cauldron, but he failed. Suppressing the Nine Heavens God Cauldron was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Of course, it wouldn't be easy for the cauldron to defeat Lin Feng and the other four cultivators. Demon Lord, do you have a way to deal with the god of the Heavens God Cauldron? Right now, the five of us are only able to fight to a draw with this guy. As we consume more and more of our energy, we'll be in trouble. Lin Feng transmitted to the Demon Lord. The Demon Lord said, "The god of the Heavens God Cauldron, although it's weakened, that's only relative to its peak. The god of the Heavens God Cauldron is still very powerful. Is that why you want to kill the god of the Heavens God Cauldron? It's simply impossible." Lin Feng's expression darkened. "Are you saying that we should leave now?" The Demon Lord said, "No. Although we can't kill the god of the Heavens God Cauldron, we can use other methods to deal with it. However, we can choose other ways to deal with him. Don't you want to devour the special energy stored in the Nine Heavens State Cauldron to raise your cultivation? You only need to make the god of the Heavens God Cauldron unable to control it. It's fine if you can't control the cauldron. You can devour the energy inside the cauldron. That way, your cultivation will increase greatly." "How can we prevent it from controlling the cauldron?" Lin Feng asked. "Well, I haven't thought of that yet," the Demon Lord replied. Lin Feng rolled his eyes when he heard the Demon Lord's words. If that was the case, didn't that mean there was no hope at all? Go ask Wan Lingyue. Her master should be a Taoist cultivator. She might have a way. The Demon Lord transmitted. Lin Feng nodded. Lin Feng transmitted his voice to Wan Lingyue, asking her if she had a way to deal with the god of the Heavens God Cauldron. She had a way. "I have a treasure called the Soul-Repelling Bell. It's very special because it's used to deal with the god of some treasures. Can this treasure caused the god of those treasures to fall asleep. In the end, he had no choice but to hibernate. However, when this treasure is activated, it doesn't succeed every time, especially during a great battle. When one's mind is more focused, it's very difficult to use the soul-expelling bell to achieve good results. And once the soul-expelling bell fails, it'll be even more difficult to use it to attack the opponent, because the enemy will definitely be more vigilant. Wan Lingyue said Lin Feng, I also have a treasure. It's a soul attack treasure. I'm sure it's a godly treasure, right? It should be able to cause a great impact. I'll use that treasure to deal with the god of the heavens god cauldron. If it's the god of the heavens god cauldron, when it's affected, you should be able to deal with the god of the heavens god cauldron. It'll cause great damage. Wan Lingyue said, all right, let's do that. At this moment, Lin Feng, Wan Lingyue, Grandma Witch Ancestor, Witch Mountain Child, and Su Wanqing were at a disadvantage in the battle against the Heavens God Cauldron. After a long time, the Heavens God Cauldron had accumulated a great amount of energy. Therefore, it wasn't afraid of consumption at all. However, Lin Feng and the others couldn't. In a great battle, the consumption of magic power was extremely serious. Grandma, Witch Ancestor, and Witch Mountain Child cursed angrily because they felt that those opportunities were getting further and further away from them. Naturally, they were very depressed. Although Su Wanqing didn't curse, her expression didn't look good either. You'll all die later. The god of the heavens god cauldron, he said sinisterly. This guy thought that he had everything under control. Said Lin Feng, smiling coldly. He took out his skeleton bracelet. The skull bracelet suddenly grew rapidly, and the 18 skulls all let out sharp and ear-piercing cries. Those cries had a great impact on the soul. Ah, the god of the heavens god cauldron, it immediately let out a painful cry. At this moment, Wan Lingyue also took out her soul-repelling bell. Ding, ding, dang, dang. The soul-repelling bell shook, and a strange collision sound was heard. The screaming god of the heavens god cauldron, it became quiet. Soon, Lin Feng and the others couldn't sense the god of the heavens god cauldron. Its aura was gone.